Welcome back to Donington Park and the opening round of the 2019 TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. Cars arriving on the grid, 47 of them there will be for a 2-hour race around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. My name is Ian Simon, Josh Barrett alongside me in the commentary box, and what a great looking grid of cars that we have for you, split in 3 different classes, and that is based on the power to weight ratio. So class A is for cars up to 300 brake horsepower per tonne, all weighed without the driver. Class B up to 240 brake horsepower per tonne, and the tiddler class, if you like, the 180 brake horsepower per tonne, class C. And these power to weight ratios are checked by the Maha mobile dyno that is at all 750 Motor Club TEGIWA Club Enduro events. It's a 2-hour race, as I say, for 1 or 2 drivers generally. There's, I think, 1 team with 3 drivers in it this weekend, and there's a mandatory 3-minute pit stop for refuelling during the course of the race, although there's no set pit stop window in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. There is an extra penalty this year for the first time for professional drivers who are categorised as being either silver or gold on the FIA scale, rising or superstars with the BRDC, or have recently driven in the British Touring Car Championship or as a pro in the British GT Championship. There's just 2 of those here this weekend. Adam Morgan, 7-time BTCC winner, and Marcus Clitton, the former British GT champion. Cars, as I say, coming out onto the grid, and at the front we will have the number 74 car, which is the Porsche, which is being driven in the second part of this race at least by Marcus Clitton, but it's the owner, Michael Price, that will be on pole position in that Porsche Cayman GT4, and he will have alongside him number 33, which is the car that's being started by the former M3 Cup racer David Whitmore, but Luke Zedzikowski is the driver that he will hand over to for the second part of that race. Some of the final cars coming around to the grid. There's been a little bit of attrition, I'm afraid, in qualifying. We've already lost, I'm afraid, the champion from Class B last season, Matt Fazy, who was due to step up to Class A in the Porsche 944 Turbo. He's got a hole in the side of the block now after the engine let go in qualifying. And we've also lost, although they did qualify, the Wallace brothers, Matthew and Simon, their Seat Leon, that had a boost issue during the course of the qualifying session, so they won't be able to take the start. A few others fell by the wayside in testing yesterday as well. So 47 cars we'll have on the grid then for this opening 2-hour Club Enduro round of the season. Josh Barrett, as I say, is alongside me. Josh, and well, this is one we've all been looking forward to for quite some time.
Absolutely. 3 years ago, the first Club Enduro race took place, and the 750 Motor Club Championship has just grown and grown, and with TEGIWA now part of the championship sponsorship as well. We've got we had a number of reserves, didn't we, coming into the weekend? Some of those teams that therefore didn't turn up, but 47 cars, the biggest grid Donington Park has seen possibly ever, if not for a very long time indeed. And it's a great mix of cars as well. We've got sports cars or GT cars at the front, and got saloon cars towards the back, and it's this power to weight ratio that Ian mentioned really does even all the classes up very closely indeed. it was a bit of a pole position for Marcus Clausen, but as Ian mentioned, he is classified as a pro driver, so they get quite a significant penalty in the second half of the race when Marcus Clausen gets on board. So despite that pole position, despite that being a GT4 car, it doesn't necessarily mean so much because everybody running on treaded tyres. You're not running on slicks here, so to keep it affordable and therefore the power to weight ratio really brings the production cars that people have built up themselves into very much a close gap between one another, and we've seen that over the course of last year. Lots of BMWs, but the best M3, in fact, only in 4th place, and it's been M3s that have been the class of the field in the past. We've got the new M4 out there that's going to be started by David Whitmore on the front row. It's been interesting to see how that goes. I mentioned Porsches, we've got Lotuses, Peter Mansfield starting there in 5th place in the Elite. We've got the Honda Civics, the first of the saloon cars. That's going to be started by TCR racer and multiple Burkitt winner, overall Burkitt winner last year, Cole Swift in a Civic. We've got M3, got Volkswagen Golf as well, Lotus Exige, you've got Seat Leon 2 as well. Looking further back, you've got the Renault Clio, Porsche 944, Mini Cooper, the Peugeot RCZ. And you've got BMW compacts towards the back, getting towards Class C cars. You've also got the 330s as well as Mazda MX-5s. And the 1 Series BMW as well. It's a fantastic mix of cars that are going off onto their green flag warming up lap.
Yes, they're following the 750 Motors Club safety car, the Renault Megane round, for this 2.5 mile green flag lap ahead of a 2-hour race for the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. TEGIWA also putting up a prize for the team or driver of the day as well. And that will be decided during the course of the next couple of hours. So this fantastic variety of cars heading off on its green flag lap with, as I say, Michael Price in the Porsche Cayman GT4 lining up on pole position. So here is a look at the grid then. And on pole position, this is the Michael Price, Marcus Clausen car, but it's Michael Price that's starting. David Whitmore starts the car next to it on the front of the grid. Row 2 is Chris Brown starting the car. Mickey Brown will take over. Chris Byallen on his own on the outside of row 2. Then row 5, you've got Peter Mansfield starting. He'll hand over to the former Mazda champion, Rob Boston. Carl Swift starts the car 6th on the grid. That's the Honda Civic. That should go well. Richard Bacon, another driver going solo in the BMW on P7. And row 8 is the Andy Bailey and Luke Levitt's car. Andy Bailey starts in the Golf. On to the 5th row of the grid, Leon Bidgeway going solo in the Lotus Exige. Then the Goulds, the father and son, have the Porsche Cayman out. That's on the outside of row 5. Then there's a gap where the Wallaces should have been. Will Ashmore will start the Honda Civic on the outside of row 6. Julie McBride going solo in the M3 on row 7, alongside the car that will now just be driven in actual fact by Paul Huxley. That's the Seat Super Copa. Darren Ball and Steve Cheetham in the Porsche round out the first 8 rows of the grid. Then we come to our other professional driver, Adam Morgan, starting the car that's on the inside of row 9. That's the Renault Clio, alongside the gap where Matt Fazy should have been before the hole was put through the side of the block. Brett Evans and the Mercers, David and Mark, line up on row number 10. Charles Campbell and Graham Leggett are in the Peugeot on row 11, alongside Gavin Johnson and Pip Hammond, the former Classic Stock Hatch champion. It's Jesus and Chris Nyland and Mark Rice and Danny Hobson line up on the outside of row 12. As the cars making their way down towards the left-hander, we look through the rest of the grid. Michael Downey there is 25th in the Porsche Boxed XS, I should say. And then it's another 2-driver effort. That is Oliver Owen starting the car 26th. Then it's Luke Handley and Alistair Lindsay in the Honda Civic starting the car on 28th. Sam McKee will take over from Adam Meeland, who starts the BMW E36, 29th on the grid. It's Imran Khan handing over to Andrew Lightstead in the BMW 330 that's on P30. P31 is going to be started by Nick Dougal, and P32 it's Simon Middleton that will hand over to Oliver Crease. And let's have a look very quickly at the rest of the field. It's Darren Kell and James Kell lining up 33rd, and alongside them is going to be the car that we started by, Lee Sharples. There are another few rows of cars on the grid, but that's just about all we've got time for, as the cars are making their way now up towards the Goddard's hairpin and towards the red lights, which are on the gantry. It's a 2-hour race, a big variety of cars. It's an eagerly anticipated contest for the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. The safety car pulls into the pit lane. It's a bit of a ragged rolling start, but the red lights are on. Do they go out? The answer is yes, they do, and the race gets underway. And it's a good start from the second row of the grid there by Chris Bylan, but the two front row cars are still pretty much side by side as they head into Redgate Corner for the first time on the outside line. It's David Whitmore trying to get past Michael Price there, but I don't think he could make that work. Can he? Is still hanging on around the outside line. It looks like Chris Bylan in fourth place, or starting fourth, was trying to go with him as well, but it is Michael Price that's holding on then from David Whitmore at the moment.
And only just now the rest of the 47 car grid have started their race. That is the size of the entry. Absolutely fantastic, but it's Porsche from BMW up front, and now the battle for fourth is very much on, because Chris Brown there, perhaps not quite as quick as his son Mika, who qualified that M4, has got a whole host of cars behind him. Look, here they all come down towards the old hairpin. A lot of the Class C cars involved in this, but watch the three classes during the course of this 2-hour motor race, with the leaders making their way up towards Coppit, and it's Michael Price that leads. Second place is David Whitmore, third is Chris Bylan, and holding on in fourth is Chris Brown, just ahead of Cole Swift.
Yeah, and then the rest of the field making their way through. What a big field it is, and hopefully everyone's at least negotiating their way around this first lap safely, because it is a long old 2-hour race. Big to have a moment though for the race leader, and he's already off the circuit. That's Michael Price, and he's conceded 2 places straight away, Josh.
Absolutely too fast into the S's for Michael Price. He did well to keep it out of the gravel trap, but that means he's down there in third position, just ahead of Mika Brown and Cole Swift there too. Cole Swift has won in this series before a couple of years ago in that Honda Civic, and he was sharing with Rob Baker on that day, so watch out for the Civic. Not so much a likely car, you wouldn't have think, but it's a very quick car prepared by Area Motorsport, but it's the championship sponsor liveried car, TEGIWA, that's going to lead the first lap of the season with David Whitmore at the wheel.
Yeah, Chris Bylan there in second place, then it's Michael Price recovering from that moment at the Falcon TS is in third. Chris Brown is in fourth place. Fifth at the moment then is Carl Swift. Richard Bacon going solo in sixth place. Leon Bidgeway seventh in the Exige. Then it's the number 21 car, that's the Porsche Cayman of Lance and Alistair Gold. Class B leading car is next up. That's Andy Bailey, number 95, who started in that VW.
Peter Mansfield, who started on pole in Class B after a very quick time in qualifying from Rob Boston, has already dropped to third in class and lost something like 8 positions overall. So that really shows you the different pace between the two drivers. And when we get to the second half of the race, that's when it will really play out. So if you haven't really watched long races before, because of course there's not that much endurance racing in club racing throughout the 2 hours, it's very much worth keeping an eye on it, despite it being a much longer race than perhaps what you are used to. You wouldn't have thought it though up front, would you? Because it's 3 cars for the lead. It looks like Michael Price has got his head back down and chasing the top 2, chasing David Whitmore and Chris Bylan. Whitmore was a winner in the M3 Cup last year. Bylan won at Brands Hatch last weekend in the Armed Forces Challenge, another 750 Motor Club organised series, but he is certainly under pressure from Michael Price, who I think has won every club enduro race that has taken place in Belgium at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and that will be back in play again this year. It was Callum McLeod, though, on that occasion that shared the car with Michael Price. Behind, you saw a big old moment from Chris Brown. He was sideways out over the curbs, and that may allow Cole Swift to challenge down towards the hairpin. But we're watching the second and third place cars, Chris Bylan and Marcus Clutter. There's battles all the way through the field to the Mini there of Brett Evans, very much modified, big arches on that Mini Cooper that Brett Evans has, the Autobahn racing car. But here's the battle for second in toward Redgate, but you saw in the background a challenge for fourth place. Cole Swift is going up the inside of he's actually under pressure, isn't it? Yeah, that's Cole Swift being pressured by Richard Bacon. Yeah, that's for 5th and 6th places then. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd on screen at the moment, though, and Michael Price, after that mistake on the opening lap, trying to come back and get back ahead of Chris Bylan here, and I guess limit the damage. We've got the Peugeot RCZ into the pit lane. That was the car that was started by Graham Leggett, I think, and the number 4 car, which is a car that was built for Belgian endurance racing originally, is into the pit lane. What they're doing, it looks like they're taping up the door, are they, or the window, as if that's possibly coming adrift. Bit of a strange one at the end of lap number 2 of this race. So it's David Whitmore that leads Class A. Class B continues to be led by the Gulf of Andy Bailey, but only by a few tenths of a second to Steve Cheetham. And in Class C, it's Imran Khan that leads the way over Tom Rogers. And look at this, it's almost 3 wide down the
back straight there. And we have had a change there, haven't we? Because that looks like the Brown car. Chris Brown has dropped behind these two, behind Carl Swift and Richard Bacon then, up into 4th and 5th they go. So Chris Brown will now be trying to fight back as they head down to the Melbourne hairpin on lap 3 of the race. There is Richard Bacon late on the brakes, and he runs wide. And how they avoided contact there with Carl Swift in the Civic, I don't know, but that has allowed Chris Brown to get back through to P4.
And that was very much the experience of Carl Swift, wasn't it? Realising what was happening, sort of turning out of the corner to avoid the contact. Carl Swift has raced in the Burkitt quite a few times. He was the handicap winner back in 2014 and won the overall race in a TCR car, beating all the Radical Sports cars that day. So Carl Swift, very much an experienced race driver, but that wouldn't have been good for him. He's dropped some positions because of that. In fact, just the one position, because it's just Chris Brown that got through. Chris Brown will be pleased. Them two cars kind of passed him because he's now back ahead and avoided the incident. Richard Bacon now is back through ahead of the Gould Porsche, the car that's come down from Scotland this weekend. Lance Gould at the wheel in this first stint. No pit stop window, we should mention here, but you have to make 3 minutes mandatory stop. That can be done at any time. So if you've got a better fuel tank, if your car is more economic, you can have a larger window to work with, rather than perhaps if your car only can go an hour on fuel.
The other thing to consider is if you've got a professional driver, which, to be fair, not many of the cars do, but Michael Price will hand over to Marcus Clutton. Marcus Clutton can only do a maximum of 63 minutes during the course of this race, so it can't be that Michael Price does the first 20 minutes and hands over to Marcus Clutton for the remaining 100. There is a bit more equity about that.
Is there a problem there for Gavin Johnson and Pip Hammond's Lotus Elise? Very slow through the Craner curves and losing a number of positions there. The TWP run Lotus that was started by the reigning 94 champion Gavin Johnson. We'll come back to that in a moment, because Richard Bacon is putting on another challenge down into the Melbourne hairpin. It looks much more considered this time, up the inside of Chris Brown, and goes through and follow him through his Lance Gould. So since Gould was passed by Richard Bacon, he's kept with him, but the power of that BMW tells down the straight. But it might have the power down the straights, the Brown car. However, because of the power to weight ratio, it means it's a heavier car and isn't so good through the corners.
Michael Price has just done the best lap of the race so far, a 1 minute 43.73. Compare that with the qualifying time set by Marcus Clutton. That's a 1 minute 40.71. So there's about a 3-second difference between their lap times, although I guess the car now is on a much heavier fuel load.
Absolutely. And of course the drivers have got to protect the tyres throughout this. Some of them may change tyres during the race, but attend that the 2 hours will be done on one set of tyres, because you want to make sure you do get that pit stop done in that 3-minute window. You don't want to be wasting time during the pit stop. So 4 laps done, and it's David Whitmore that leads the way over Michael Price. 3rd is Chris Boyle, and then quite a get back to Cole Swift, but let's see what he can do now. He's got clear road. In 5th is Richard Bacon.
We've had a change for the lead in Class B as well, haven't we? Because Steve Cheetham in the Porsche, the number 43 car, the Porsche Boxster, has made it ahead of Andy Bailey in that Volkswagen Golf as well. So that's been a change for 9th and 10th overall. Also the Class B lead. And there's a second and a half between those two cars at the moment.
Meanwhile, in Class C, Imran Khan leads the way in the BMW 330 that he shares with Andrew Lightstead. He's already pulled out 6 seconds over Tom Rogers in a Renault Clio, and 3rd in class is Adam Meeland in Sam McKee's BMW 328i.
Still this battle going on between Carl Swift and Richard Bacon for 4th and 5th positions. There's only about 6 or 7 car lengths between them as they make their way down towards the the Melbourne hairpin, I should say. This is where it all came unstuck 2 laps ago, but this time they both get through absolutely without incident as they battle over that position. And who have we got into the pits?
Well, that's the TWP Lotus, isn't it? But we're also hearing issues for Liam Bidgeway, another Lotus, who has lost 4th gear. He's reported back to his team. As
Carl Swift just about fends off Richard Bacon going through Goddard's that time, they come back onto the straight. So yes, we've got that TWP car that was being driven by Gavin Johnson into the pit lane. It actually qualified pretty well, I think better than Pip Hammond thought it might do, given that they only had half an hour in the car on Friday after it was finished before qualifying it this morning.
Richard Bacon's gone through around the outside of Cole Swift, so it moves into 4th position. Does Richard Bacon, the ex-Kumo BMW racer, moving into Club Enduro this year, and moves into 4th place ahead of Cole Swift. Now, Liam Bidgeway does go through, doesn't he? But with that gear issue, he's losing something like 3 seconds a lap, so dropping down the order. He's down to 12th.
OK, so only 10 minutes of this race gone. Steve Cheatham's about a second and a half now, 2 seconds clear in Class B. But there is Richard Bacon up at McLean's in the number 60 car. And he's just pulled out a few car lengths now from Carl Swift, but he's really lost touch with the 3 cars ahead, hasn't he? Chris Byallen is already about 13 seconds up the road in 3rd place.
Absolutely, but we're going to have a new element into this race very shortly when the leaders get into lap traffic, and then it's going to be that is going to be the circumstances for the rest of the race, and that really can adjust your lap time, how confident you are going through the traffic into the Grand Prix loop. It's this battle for 4th we watch between Richard Bacon and Cole Swift, and Swift carries so much more speed through the corner in the Area Motorsport Run car, so that means Richard Bacon defends on the run down towards the hairpin. Now, does he outbrake himself this time? No, he gets the car turned in, so Cole Swift has to tuck in behind, and the 2 cars accelerate out of the corner.
And a change of lead there, because Michael Price has gone through to take the lead of the race now, away from David Whitmore as they came across the line to complete lap 6. So the number 74 car, which has just turned its way through Redgate Corner, is now out in front. So a change of lead, and given the pace that Michael Price was setting, perhaps no real surprise.
But they have to remember they've got this extra 30-second stop-and-go penalty when Marcus Clutton is aboard that car, and Clutton was only a second and a half quicker than Luke Sajakowski, who will be taking over the car that David Whitmore is aboard at the moment. So it's going to be a real ask for the Price and Clutton team. They've really got to push on. Clutton has raced in these races before, as I said, he's a winner in the past. So perhaps a bit more experienced in the traffic. David Whitmore in his first Club Enduro race. Perhaps it's something just to bed himself in. He's raced in M3s in the M3 Cup over the last few years. There's Chris Byallen, who was racing here at Donington Park on Saturday as well. So he's having a very busy weekend of racing, so should know that car well. They lap one of the MX-5s and round the outside that Peugeot that's back out there again after that quick pit stop. So out of the S's they come. It is Michael Price then that continues to lead over David Whitmore. They've got the Graham Kelly BMW Compact just ahead of them, and is Clutton going to squeeze up the inside? There's an MX-5 in there as well, and there you can see the traffic. You have to find your way through. It's the 52 Mazda MX-5 that was involved there as well. That's a Steve Dolman car, the Sheared Autos Run car. Side by side, a bit further back, that's car number 62. Involved in that. That's the Andy Gay and Ben Woodcock's shared BMW 318 IS. So these are a couple of cars that have been lapped. It's a Mazda MX-5, the other car involved in that battle. That's the car shared between Steve Summers and Neil Livesey. So even though they're a bit further back, they're having a great race amongst the Class C cars. And they're just being passed by Julia McBride, who's a lap ahead of them now in this car that was built for racing in 2016 for the M3 Cup, but rated last year to go endurance racing, which is something that actually Julia McBride very much more enjoys than he does the sprint races that he started out doing. So he's now just ahead of that battle. Now here is Richard Bacon, and now he's got a bit of track to himself, as behind him you could just see it was getting a bit fruity between Carl Swift and Chris Brown for 5th and 6th places. So here comes Richard Bacon down towards us, and there, well, it's not quite as close as it was a moment ago. Carl Swift flashing the headlamps to get the MX-5 back marker out of the way, but you've got Carl Swift, Chris Brown, and then the 21 car of Lance Gould, the Porsche, all together now for 5th, 6th and 7th. And here's the Class B leader, Steve Cheatham, turning his way onto the old hairpin. He's about 4 seconds now ahead of the Golf, the car that's shared between Andy Bailey and Luke Slavitz. The reigning Class A champions in an M3, this pair, and it's Andy Bailey that is going first. Third in that class is now William Beach, and he's in his Renault Clio that he's sharing with BTCC race winner Adam Morgan. The pole sitters dropped much further back. That's Peter Mansfield down to about 6th now. Yeah, it's Adam Morgan that's actually starting that Clio, so we'll see what he can do. That is a lower class car, so don't be too concerned about that. We've got a driving standards flag going out to car number 6, which is Carl Swift. Absolutely, here come the leaders out of the hairpin. The top 3 perhaps a bit closer now. Chris Byallen has a better run through the traffic than the top 2. Yeah, about a second quicker on that lap, but the lap time is something like 3 or 4 seconds off what their best was, so certainly the lap traffic affecting the lap times. The car into the pits is the 124 Porsche 924 of Lee Sharples. That was also one that had problems during the course of qualifying. Here's the leader, though, Michael Price. He's not really getting away here from David Whitmore in second, is he? A gap at the beginning of the lap of just over a second.
Chris Byallen still there in third, about 2 seconds behind that. And more traffic coming into play. They're just going past the number 5 Civic, which is being shared by father and daughter team Peter and Nicola Gillett, and there's one car off there as well.
That's the Mark Lloyd-Jones and Alistair Lindsay Saxon Motorsport car, the Honda Civic.
Yeah, which was started by Lindsay, I think, wasn't it? So looks like they are already out of this 2-hour Club Enduro race, just 15 minutes into it. Now the leaders together, and there's a back marker there with its bonnet flapping rather wildly, as if it's perhaps had a bit of contact, or possibly just a bonnet pin that wasn't fixed down correctly, but that keeps to the right-hand side of the circuit. The leaders head down the exhibition straight towards the Fogarty S's untroubled. The gap, though, coming down.
Chris Byallen especially getting closer to the top two as they make their way down towards the Melbourne hairpin for the 9th lap of this race. There is Michael Price leading the way. Also races in the Porsche Club Series. He won a 997 in the Club Enduro last year when he won at Spa, was a runner-up with Marcus Clutton at Snetterton. And he leads here to David Whitmore, and then in third place Chris Byallen. So it's the Porsche Cayman leading the BMW M4, and then the BMW M3 GTR in third place. 3 of them together.
And they've just put a lap on the Simon Middleton Lotus Elise. That'll be handed over to Oliver Crease. Exceed, should say. That'll be handed over to Oliver Crease for the second part of the race. So there goes Michael Price then into Redgate once again to start lap 10 of this race. And yes, there's now just 1.43 seconds covering the first 3 cars. It's another, 18 seconds back to the fourth place man, which is Richard Bacon. And we've got...
It was the car that had the bonnet go that's come into the pits, I think. Couldn't quite catch which car that was, unfortunately, but through traffic there down at the old hairpin, Chris Byallen gets all out over the curbs. It's a Class C car that has come in. Could that be Ivor Mayers possibly in his 3:30? Had a slow lap, so it could be Ivor Mayers into the pit lane.
That looks feasible, who'd made up some ground from his starting position, certainly in the early part of the race. There goes over the line the Andy Bailey car, but there we can see the Brett Evans Mini, which we were talking about earlier on. It's just ahead of that number 27 Clear, which is the one being driven by Adam Morgan, who has a look up the inside of Brett Evans. This is for 13th and 14th place overall. There's almost a bit of contact there, but not quite. Graham Kelly now getting a warning flag as well. I expect that will be for exceeding track limits. It normally is.
Reports that the Gavin Johnson car sounded like it was a cylinder or 2 down, so the problems with that Lotus. Reports from trackside for that.
And that's confirmed by the driver Pip Hammond as well, or the co-driver Pip Hammond, who confirms there's a misfire, but they don't know why there's a misfire at this point in time. Thanks for Pip for getting in touch. Don't forget, hashtag for this event is 750MC Live if you're on Twitter, or do put your comments on the YouTube feed as well if you are watching at home.
Here's Peter Mansfield in the car that Rob Boston qualified so well, but has dropped down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in class, I think, now in Class B. Steve Cheetham continues to lead, and he's got the best part of 10 seconds now ahead of Andy Bailey. Brett Evans, you saw a few moments ago in his Mini, just got past Adam Morgan, so Evans up to third. And of course, Morgan has to serve this pro driver penalty during his stint.
Yep, and that's this 30-second stop-go penalty. So the reality is you'll probably lose close to a minute by the time you've done that, and slow down to the 60 kph pit lane speed limit. That's less than 40 miles an hour, to put that in context.
Through here, second and third, David Whitmore and Chris Byallen have lost a bit of time to Marcus Clutton. That all happened on the last lap. They're 2.5 seconds behind the race leader now. Clutton did a 46, but a much slower lap than the other two in the 48. So that's some 5 seconds slower than clear running times. It looks like they've got to be a clear track now. So obviously lots of lapped cars on that previous lap. On to lap 11 of this race now. Yeah,
and Michael Price it is that's at board that Marcus Clutton car that he's sharing at the moment. I should think the car will go even quicker once we do get Marcus Clutton aboard. So they're heading down towards the Fogarty S's once again. We're just about 20 minutes into this race now, and the top 3 well clear of the rest. What we've not had yet, he said, touching wood, is a safety car period, because that could throw everything up in the air.
The Porsche 924 that we saw into the pits, that car is overheating and has been pushed into the garage.
Okay, so, well, let's see if they can try and get that out again before the end, if they can secure those overheating problems and get a bit of running in, but of course they won't be contending for overall honours now. Just looking at Class B at the moment, Steve Cheetham's now got about 13 seconds between himself and the Golf of Bailey. Well, Andy Bailey is driving that car at the moment. He's also got 2 cars between them as well. Darren Ball and Will Ashmore, both in Class A machinery, are both in between the two Class B leaders now. And Chris Byallen in third place has just done his personal best lap of the race.
Yeah, so we're clear track and the fuel load going down, the pace improving there, all the top three in the 44s. They're so close, the three of them on lap time, something like less than 0.2 of a second separated their time. So how well each driver does really all depends on how well they go through the lap traffic. So out of the old hairpin, 20 minutes in, there is David Whitmore ahead of Chris Byallen. And it's a long way back to the rest. Looking back here to the Craner Curves where we see Richard Bacon come through just in the background, some 20 seconds back. But this is a good battle to watch. You've got the Lotus there, car number 10, which is the Oliver Crease and Simon Middleton car. And right behind is Adam Mealand, who's driving Sam McKee's BMW. That car, Ian, is driven to the circuit for every weekend.
Well, it is, and it's normally driven home again. In fact, it always is driven home as well. But last weekend in the road sports race at Brands Hatch, there was drama when the suspension failed in the first part of the race, and it took a bit of an effort and a bit of help from colleagues to get that car back home again safely. But yep, that's a great feat, isn't it? In this level of racing, you've got probably a six-figure sum car on pole position. You've got a car being driven to the circuit further back down, but still right on the pace in Class C.
Absolutely. So through the Craner Curves there comes, I think that might have been James Kell in the family-run Mazda MX-5. See if it was James that started that one. So many cars on the listing trying to see, but he was racing at Pembrey over the weekend. I think he had one of his Mazdas written off there, but out here in the family-run car with Darren this weekend. But looking back here is Chris Byallen turning his way through Redgate Corner. He's still on the tail of David Whitmore. There's the leader, Michael Price, is nearly 4 seconds clear now, so another good run through traffic for the race leader. Here's Whitmore in the TEGIWA TI Motorsport run BMW M4, just lapping one of the BMW compacts there to the outside through the kink on the run up towards Swans Curve.
Yeah, that was the 71 car of David Downey. That is the 76 Porsche that they are now about to lap. That's Michael Downey, son of David as well. That's also being lapped by the race leading Michael Price car. Worth noting as well, Michael Price, who mentioned, has got the best lap of the race, a 1:43.73. That's already nearly a second under the lap record that was set for this championship in 2017, the last time the cars raced here. That was the Heinz and Fitzgerald outfit, who did a 1:44.72. So already they've got almost a second faster than that, which just shows really the development of Club Enduro as a category.
One of the Mazdas into the pit lane. That was the Jeff Gurier and Russell Tamplin Sheared Autos run car. You can see that car on your screen now. Just parking up behind the TWP Racing Lotus. Got 23 minutes into this race now. The top three very much tightly contested. Then you've got this much bigger gap to the rest. And Michael Price 4 seconds ahead of David Whitmore. Chris Byallen right on Whitmore's tail at the end of this lap number 13. And then in the fourth place, about 20 seconds further back, is Richard Bacon, who's now cleared away from Micah Brown, and Chris Brown, and both him and Lance Gould have got past Cole Swift. So Cole Swift just dropped to 7th place. Julian McBride completes the top 8 in Class B. It's Steve Cheetham that continues to lead the way. Second in the class is Andy Bailey. Brett Evans now back into 3rd place. It looks like he's having a good battle with Adam Morgan in Class C, though. It's Imran Khan who leads that over Tom Rogers, and 3rd in Class C is Adam Mealand.
Yep, 1 hour 36 minutes still to go. You can see there the 76 car, which is Michael Downey in his Porsche Boxster. Only his 2nd season of racing, 42 years old, from Haslington. Started racing in Club Enduro last year, and was thrilled to be racing against his dad at Spa last season. And that is the Class B leader that's just coming over the line. That's the number 43 car of Steve Cheetham. He goes on to another lap. Now, how's the gap between him and Andy Bailey going? Well, it's growing ever further, because the Golf is not yet in view, I don't think, is it? Yeah, here it is now. It's just coming over the line now, and there is some work that's going on the munition-backed Lotus in the pit lane. The car that was only finished a few days ago. Together We Progress car is being worked on in the pit lane there.
And there is the Mazda that came in, the Guerrier and Tamplin shared MX-5. That was Russell Tamplin that was at the wheel in the first part of that race. Here comes about of a second though, out of the hairpin, just lapping the Luke Handley Honda Civic. It's still David Whitmore though, keeping Chris Byalon at bay. They're now 5 seconds behind the race leader, which is Michael Price. They're just lapping another of the Mazdas there. That's the car of James Watson and Robert Chilcock. They go through ahead of the Mazda then as they go on to Hollywood. A good crowd there, you can see on the banking at the top of Hollywood. Great view up there. See all the way down through the Craner curves and down into the old hairpin. Such a spectacular place here at Donington Park, as the track really does fall away from you down towards the old hairpin. It's so fast through the Craner curves too, and actually somebody's just pulling off there. We'll work on out who that is in a moment or two, but a car's pulling off there to the side of the track at the old hairpin. So a few cars in dramas, as you kind of expect. The long race, these are all production cars, all built up from the race, all built up as a race car from the road machine. So you are going to find issues with them. With such a great grid, we've always got cars to look at, and the ones we're doing at the moment are the David Whitmore and Chris Byalon battle that continues for second place. And it's unfortunately the Honda Civic that's pulled off the Class A car that was started by Will Ashmore and Robert Taylor. This is a spare car this weekend as well, Ian, because that isn't the car they were entered in.
No, they were originally hoping to be out in the BMW Compact, but that has fallen by the wayside. There you can see now on your screens the stricken Honda Civic with the Army of Motorsport lifting on the bonnet there. That was another car that we saw out in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Now problems there. That is for the Clio, which is number 12, and that is Tom Rogers, isn't it?
Second in Class C, this is Tom Rogers, who was chasing Imran Khan in Class C, running there in second place. He was battling with Adam Meelan. They're only about a second apart at the beginning of the lap, but Meelan to be up into second place now because Tom Rogers can't see where he's going. He's trying to work the car, that Clio, back to the pits. This is a Clio Cup spec car, but as we mentioned, every car on treaded tyres here, so no slicks, so not running to Clio Cup spec as such. But he'll be peering in the gap at the bottom of the window screen. I'm sure this isn't the first time a Clio Cup car's gone around a circuit with the bonnet covering the window screen.
No, I think we have seen that before, haven't we? So yeah, Tom Rogers, who's racing the MSV Track Day Championship, also in the Citroen C1s during the course of last season. That's his local circuit, of course. He's from Newark, 27-year-old transport manager. He finished second in class in the MSV Track Day Championship in the course of 2018, sharing with his partner today, John Griffiths. But it's going to be a bit of misfortune here as they'll have to call into the pits. This will be will it be an extra stop? We've had about half an hour of racing. I wonder if they will do a driver change a little bit early while they bring this car in.
Because, of course, if you have got a problem, you can do your 3-minute stop at that point, and even if you have to make another stop, therefore, then the next stop doesn't have to be 3 minutes long. Let's see what the team decide to do as the car makes its way down the Donington Park pit lane, up the pit speed limit. There'll be marshals that pit in and down the pits, and there's a stop-go penalty being given to one of the cars.
That's
Ian.
number 4 by the looks of it, which is the Graham Leggett Charles Campbell Peugeot. That's already been in for a pit stop, and it could be connected with the pit stop, of course, because this could be in connection with a pit lane speeding infringement, yes, or something like that. There are penalties for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. 6 seconds now is the lead for Michael Price. He powers across the line and down into Redgate for another lap, and the gap actually came down on that lap slightly. David Whitmore and Chris Byalon still there in second and third place. Richard Bacon continues to run fourth and pulling away from the cars behind him. Chris Brown ahead of Lance Gold. And now up into seventh place has come Julian McBride. So Cole Swift is really dropping back. This Area Motorsport Civic, of course, Ian, has won in the past, but you have said earlier how the championship has progressed, how the championship has got more competitive, and maybe that's what we're seeing here for the Area Motorsport team. We
saw another car in the pit lane as well. That's the 191 BMW of Darren Anderson, who's due to be handing over to Philip Nagel. So that's another car that's right at the far end of the pit lane from our commentary position, as we're coming up to half-hour mark in this race.
Looks like we've only really lost 4 cars so far, so that's not bad going, really, is it? With so busy, but oh, huge moment through Coppice corner there. One of the Honda Civics just in front of David Whitmore, who gets a slide on himself. You can see the tyres going off now, and it's very much a warmer day than we saw here at the meeting last year, at least.
Well, yeah, it should have been the opening round at Donington Park last year for the Club Enduro Championship, but it was snowed off, would you believe? Now here comes that. Oh, now the windows falling apart again, so that gaffer tape when it came in last time didn't do the job, and now they are serving a stop-go penalty. I think what this will be, it will be for exceeding the pit lane speed limit, and now they have to stop for the number of seconds that is equivalent to every kilometre per hour over the pit lane speed limit that they were found to be.
And this is the Civic that got there sideways. That's car number 34, which is the Mark Price and Danny Hobson DH racing car. This is the ex-Roger and Vela class championship winning hot hatch car from last year. And it was Danny Hobson who started that car. He actually won in the Civic Cup yesterday over at Snetterton. So changing to a different Civic today, and he's actually now been warned for exceeding track limits. And you could see how sideways he was just a few moments ago up at Coppice.
Leaders on pretty much nose to tail as they make their way down through the Craner curve. Sorry, second and third, I should say.
I noticed the Clio still in the pits, Ian, so perhaps this is going to be their 3-minute pit stop. The car that was doing so well in Class C earlier, the Tom Rogers and John Griffiths shared Clio Cup car. Meanwhile, into the pits comes number 91. That is a Class B car. The M3 that shared between Tom Kirkland and Oliver Owen makes its way in. The team there just checking the front right corner of that car, so perhaps an issue, no driver change is expected, so that looks more of a problem to me. In a moment for Julian McBride, he's had a spin at the final hairpin, but he continues. So Jeff Steele racing prepared BMW M3 then of Julian McBride, still in 7th place, still ahead of Cole Swift, who very much seems to be struggling. Best lap of 1 minute 46 for Swift, but this parent won at Silverstone just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So into the second quarter of this race now, and it's Michael Price still leading the way. He's just down at the Melbourne hairpin now as these cars stream through on the start and finish straight with a little bit of time left to go.
Just going through there was Adam Mealand. He's only a couple of seconds ahead of the John Munro and Nick Dougal shared Mazda. Nick Dougal at the wheel. That's for second and third in Class C, separated by just 2 seconds, but they're over half a minute behind Imran Khan, the driver that's won in road sports before, sharing with Andrew Lightstead. Both of them classic stock hatch race winners, going really well, leading Class C. So we can now see coming down towards Redgate. This is the number 33 car, David Whitmore, in Luke Sajakowski's BMW M4. Chris Byalon still chasing him, just 1.3 seconds behind the pair of them. Here is the Class C leading car, just going through shot there. That is Imran Khan in Andrew Lightstead's BMW 330. So that is the Class C leader, and we'd have to wait about half a minute before we saw anybody else in the category.
Richard Bacon in 4th place, just on a PB, 145.33. He's 22 seconds behind Chris Byalon in 3rd place, though.
Looks like the Gavin Johnson Lotus did get back out, but it's back into the pit, so the problems continue for the new Lotus to the championship, run by TWP Racing, the team that have run Mazdas in the past with success, but now moving into this Lotus, as Ian said earlier, hasn't had much testing time, and really not a good run for them. They can see going down towards the Together We Progress Racing, TWP Racing team go to work then on that Lotus.
They do indeed, and it's been in the pit lane a little bit more than they'd have liked so far during the course of this race. Steve Cheetham, meanwhile, goes past our window, continuing to lead in Class B. He's only just ahead, though, of Darren Ball in a Class A car, and that's for 9th and 10th places overall as well.
We thought that Clio was doing its mandatory pit stop. It's actually been pushed into the garage by the looks of things. So Tom Rogers, who went so well in the first part of that race, second in Class C earlier, into the that bonnet going up, looks like it's caused more damage. Meanwhile,
a spinner, and it is one of the Mazdas, isn't it? The Shared Autos car. Yeah, it is the 52 car that had a spin. So Steve Dolman there in the MX-5 has spun. I'm trying to see exactly where that is. Out of our window, I think it's
out of the S's.
Out of the S's, yeah.
He was running 4th in class prior to that spin, so just behind the Mealand and Dougal battle. So that will promote Graham Kelly and Ivor Mayers into the top 5. The safety car board has gone out because of this Mazda broadside across the circuit, and as we're coming up to 1/3 distance in, I suspect teams will be planning their pit stops now, and teams running across the from the pit wall to the garage to prepare for their stops.
Yeah, exactly. So no pit stop window, of course, in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship race. And so when you get a safety car like this in sort of the middle 50% of the race, then this is prime time to make your mandatory 3-minute pit stop, with hopefully losing a minimum of time. It can sometimes go the wrong way, though. If you end up getting stuck at the pit lane while the safety car train goes past or something like that, you could lose some time. But I think we are going to see a number of cars now coming into the pit lane, and Julian McBride is in, and so too is Carl Swift.
Okay, so Rob Baker will be taking over that Honda Civic on your screens. Julian McBride is a solo driver, but he'll have to get out of the car while it is refueled. 3-minute mandatory stop now, so the pit stops can be done safely. And that is what's going ahead now, so refueling. I think the Civic actually has enough fuel to last 2 hours.
Now, what's interesting here is Michael Price can't do his driver change yet, unless they make another driver change to get Michael Price back out in the car for the second part of the race, because his second driver, Marcus Clussen, can only drive a maximum of 63 minutes, and we still have, 85 minutes of this race left to go. So that's a strategic element here.
Is that his car that came in? I saw a car that looked very much like his livery on the edge of the screen, but I can't see that car in the pits.
I don't think it did come in that time. Try and keep an eye on exactly where that car is. The Class B second place car, as was Andy Bailey, has come in, number 95.
So that's the Class A champions from last year who have moved into Class B for this year, so changing from an M3 to a Volkswagen Golf. So I don't think any of our leaders have come in. Of course, these cars generally be a bit more thirsty on fuel, and therefore can't do a stint on enough fuel to get them to the end. So you might as well stay out. That is the Porsche, isn't it, Ian, going to the end of the pits?
You're right, it has gone through the pit lane, hasn't it?
So that wasn't a 3-minute stop, though.
No, so what was that stop is the question. I'm wondering if he had a penalty that we didn't know about or something like that, that the car had to save. Now, in comes Adam Morgan.
Third in Class B, I think they were.
And again, is he going straight through?
I wonder what some drivers are doing. They're coming in thinking, oh, this is our time to stop, and the team are actually saying, no, we've got to get the car back out again. There's Liam Bidgeway, who is that car being pushed into the garage. That car lost fourth gear quite early on. He prevailed with it, but looks like Liam Bidgeway is into the pits. He finished 9th in Class B last year in the 2018 season championship. Moved up into Class A this year, though. So the safety car queue makes its way around the Donington Park circuit. The car's been cleared, hasn't it, from the chicane? Not quite behind the barriers, though. So are the lights out, I wonder? No, they're not on the 750 Motor Club safety car. And the safety car picked up the Chris Brown BMW, which kind of means there's only sort of 4 cars on the lead lap, or 4 leaders on the behind the safety car. So that's could add a bit of confusion at the moment.
Yeah, so the safety car making its way around. It'll go around for at least one more lap then, by the looks of it. Also, I noticed, having come in, Darren Ball to make his drive step in the Rutec Racing run BMW that's halfway down the pit lane. There it is on your screen now, just ahead actually of Julian McBride's Jeff Steele run car, as the safety car comes over the finish line here. So looking at the screens then, it is showing that it's effectively Michael Price leading by 5 seconds before all this happened from David Whitmore.
But we believe he came in, didn't we? So,
so we do need to wait and see how it all filters out when the queue comes back round. The
new leader is in fact, David Whitmore, which promotes Chris Byalon to the actual lead. So into the pits comes David Whitmore, the multiple M3 winner from last year. So Luke Senjakowski will get aboard his BMW M4, the TI Motorsport run car. Senjakowski won at Silverstone last year, but that was in an M3, also a race winner in Civic Cup, in M3 Cup and in the BMW Car Club Racing Series. So very much a quick driver is Luke Senjakowski.
Yeah.
Lots more cars in as well, aren't there?
Including Michael Price again for a second time. Now, there still can't be a driver change, though, so this is all a little bit mysterious as to why Michael Price is back in.
Well, Marcus Clutton is there, I think, or at least there's somebody in fully with the helmet on, because of course they have to get Michael Price out the car, whatever happens next, because you can't have the driver in while it's being refueled. But they might decide to do their 3-minute stop now and then make the extra stop later on.
For a driver change, probably with 63 minutes to go, you'd suggest. So we do have this safety car situation here at Donington Park in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship.
It might be worth Jacob heading down to that Porsche and seeing if he can get any word on what is happening with their strategy. They might not want to tell him what's going on with their strategy, but he can give it a good go.
Jacob.
Welcome down to the pits. They are currently refueling the Porsche. Right in front of me, both cars, the 33 and the 74, in next door neighbour garages. Think the driver swap might be happening. You're telling me that it can't happen, but certainly the driver has jumped out of the car and the swap is ready to go in.
The question will be, is it the same driver that gets back in, or is it a different driver that gets in? So we'll try and keep an eye on that.
Yep, it's a different driver getting in. The driver swap has happened for the number 74.
So that's Marcus Clutton then getting in the car, so they might just do another driver change at the end, and this could be a tactical masterstroke, I suppose. We'll find out. Perhaps it'd be good to hear if you can get a word from Michael Price in a minute or two, Jacob, if you can do that. Oh, that would be splendid.
Currently prepped with a fire extinguisher, so I won't interrupt him too yet in case a fire breaks out.
And the other thing to note, the safety car has waved everybody through who was between it and Chris Byalon, so anybody that looked like they were a lap down will no longer be so. Meanwhile, looks like that fuel has been completed down there, Jacob.
Yep, Mike Price is out of the car. I'm going to jump in and try and get a few words with him. Mike, can we have a quick chat for the live stream? You've obviously come in from the pits there. What was the drive-through about?
That's a penalty for having a pro driver on the team.
I see. We must have missed that one on the comms. Do you have faith in this man then, since he is a pro driver?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. Well, it's all neutralised now, but we were in good spot. We were always going to have to take that penalty, ideally under safety car. But we did it in normal time, and now the pit stop, so it's live again now, so we're losing a little bit of time, but he's a class act.
We've just seen your nearest competitors in the 33 car pull off. Can you catch up to them as soon as possible?
Say again, sorry?
I said we've just seen your nearest competitors in the 33 pull off. Can you catch up to them out there?
Yes.
Fantastic. Back to you guys in the comms box. They're about to go back out on track.
And the safety car has come in as well, so racing resumes here at Donington Park, and Chris Byalon now with a huge lead, but he hasn't stopped yet, so that is going to be something he's got to do shortly. You'd have to imagine that that car couldn't do the rest of the race on one tank fuel, so he's staying out there. But with both David Whitmore and Richard Bacon and Michael Price all pitting, Chris Byalon has a very large lead indeed.
Yeah, I'm just rereading the regulations. I think that pit stop, well, the drive-through was okay, actually, for Michael Price, but he's still got Marcus Clutton in the car for what will be more than half of the race distance plus 3 minutes. So I think they will need to do another driver change for this to count, as it were.
I saw Giles Grimbridge down there, so I'm sure he will be informing them of how the regulations look if they don't realise themselves. Very busy, isn't it, up there towards Coppice Corner. There's Rob Baker, the head of Area Motorsport now, who's taken over that Honda Civic from Cole Swift. At the moment, the order is all going to look a bit confusing, isn't it, Ian, until everybody's done their pit stops.
Well, and that's the point. I didn't think we had the flurry that I was really expecting there. Possibly people think it might just be a bit early, another 10 or 15 minutes, and they'd have probably gone for it. But of course, there is that consideration of how much fuel the cars can run, in a stint.
Especially the Class A cars, which are the ones that really are not fuel efficient, I guess. Use the most fuel up and can't do much more than an hour on the fuel. Now, I wonder if the Mansfield Boston car came in. No, looking at the screens, that wouldn't be the case. So Peter Mansfield's still aboard that. But when Rob Boston gets in that Lotus Elite, I expect that to fly in Class B. Rob Boston, of course, the 2010 MX5 champion, Lotus champion a couple of years after that, before racing on the Toka package for the last few seasons. So Rob Boston, a very quick driver indeed. But he's not in that car just yet.
What this has done as well, of course, is bring some Class C drivers up into the top 20 overall as well. So Imran Khan now, for example, I can see is in 15th, and the Sam McKee Adam Mealand car is now in 18th position, as you can see on your screens there.
Couple more updates. The Jeff Gurrier and Russell Tamplin Mazda has retired as the car has won't stay in gear, so a gearbox problem for the number 93 Sheared Autos run car. Another car in dramas has been the Thomas Kirkland and Oliver Owen BMW M3. We saw that come in before the safety car come out. That had a wheel bearing problem, so a couple of updates down there in the pit lane.
Yeah, so 75 minutes or so left to go in this race. Chris Bylan then it is that's leading by about a minute, but yeah, there's lots of things to shake out yet. Some of these drivers have made mandatory stops, some teams haven't. Black flag now for Michael Price and Marcus Clutton. So that is going to be a stop and go penalty. Again, is that going to be a pit lane speed limit issue? There's a few things that aren't quite right, unfortunately, about how this race is going for that team at the moment.
And it's not their first time in the series. They finished fourth, I think, in Class A in the championship last year. Yes, they did. And they won at Spa. They were, I think, on the podium in every race they did. And the year before as well, Marcus Clutton took that team to Spa. So not their first club enduro race. OK, the rules have changed a little bit. But maybe a few people not reading the regulations as well as they should have done.
Who knows? Anyway, race continues though, and we're watching there Darren Ball go through, making his way on. He has made his stop, so he would have dropped down the order quite a long way, I would think. Josh is going to consult the lower reaches of the timing screen.
So he's on the tail as well of Rob Baker. They're 20th and 23rd overall now.
Yes, I can just see Rob Baker right at the bottom of the timing tower.
But after their pit stops, Marcus Clutton is still 9th, and Richard Bacon also pitted. He's in 12th place, but of course Bacon hasn't got a penalty, and he's only 7 seconds behind Marcus Clutton. So out of the stoppers, is that the leading car? Where's oh no, further up. Still in 5th place is Luke Senjakowski. So Senjakowski and Whitmore up in 5th place overall. They are some 30 seconds or so ahead of Marcus Clutton, so I would suggest the Sejankowski and Whitmore car is looking very strong indeed.
Yeah, that's well placed, isn't it? Especially with this stop-go penalty that Marcus Clutton is going to have to serve. That's the number 74 car, the car that was leading the race for a while. So this is the opening round of the 2019 TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship here at Donington Park. On your screen there, in the middle of the shot, the Porsche, that is Steve Cheetham, who was leading the Class B, continues to. He's up to 4th overall as things stand.
Second in the class now is the Mercer BMW. That's the David and Mark Mercer car. And starting that was Mark Mercer, the Formula Ford 2000 race. I think he's done a bit of historic Formula Atlantic racing too, has Mark Mercer. He'll hand over to his dad, David, who's very experienced indeed, raced at Le Mans, raced in British Formula 2 as well. So a hugely experienced driver, David Mercer, who will take over that car. That's second in Class B. And then third in class is the one that we saw, pit, Adam Morgan and William Beach's Clio.
Yeah.
So providing that was a full mandatory stop, they're looking strong too.
Oh, I think that may have just been the pro driver penalty again for that one as well. That would again make some kind of sense. Into the pits is that the Richard Bacon car coming in.
And that had already pitted. The car behind it looked a bit smoky. Was that just locking up, getting down to the pit speed limit? It doesn't smell very clever, it must be said. That's the Chris Nyland BMW.
Started by Nick DeJesus though, the E36 Compact. So both of those in for their pit stops now.
And yeah, so I'm sure Bacon did come in, but then again, it's a question whether they did get the 3-minute compulsory stop completed. So there we can see the compact in traditional BMW livery. And yeah, the team, the Jeff Steele Racing team, looking underneath Richard Bacon's car. So the ex-Kumo BMW driver looks to have an issue. And of course, we said how well he was doing on the positions after making a stop. So that's of course no more. Meanwhile, going through that, Steve Cheetham continues to lead Class B by about half a minute over Mark Mercer now. Yeah. But both those teams, of course, yet to pit.
Yeah, so Steve Cheetham, of course, 44 years old from Greater Manchester. Raced since 1997, originally in Porsche 924s. He was the champion in Porsche 924s in 2005. Came back to racing in 2012 after a break. Raced in Porsche Club and then switched to Club Enduro in 2017. So Richard Bacon's car still in the pit lane, not looking particularly happy. Looks like there is a problem there with the transmission, probably. Or possibly that. Another car into the pits as well, and it is, for the third time already in this race, Marcus Clutton's car.
And he followed Adam Meeland in, so Sam McKee about to get on board that. There's slippery surface flags out as well down at the S's. That was just a stop and go for Marcus Clutton rather than a time stop and go penalty. So Marcus Clutton will go back out, trying to spot any of the cars heading down to Redgate to work out what sort of position he might be in as he rejoins the circuit. Not quite sure. We'll see what time he loses. Meanwhile, the Peugeot back in with the taped up door.
Yeah, that's Graham Leggett. We think it's still Graham Leggett out there at the moment. As off has gone Chris Allen, the leader.
Has he run out of fuel? Question mark.
Well, it's kind of parked in a slightly awkward position. That's just on the way up towards McLean's, isn't it? Just through Schwantz Curve. So Chris Byallen's, whose car was out in front, I mean, there's only 50 minutes of the race gone, is stationary. A couple of cars being pushed into the garages we can see out of our window, including the 24 BMW, the Nick to Jesus Chris Nyland car, and there you can see Richard Bacon's car also heading into the pit garages. So not a happy day for a couple of BMWs.
So with Chris Byland...
Oh, it's got moving again now. But
he would have lost the lead, I would have thought, so that will mean Chris Brown in the BMW M4 will lead just by a couple of seconds over Lance Gould and his portion of the BMW is not moving very quickly. If it is a fuel issue, it's not good news, is it? 50 minutes into a 2-hour race.
I don't think it can be. I don't think it can be a fuel issue. So that's the Peugeot now. No, it's not the Peugeot. It's the MR2 number 19 now that's being refueled, and that is Martin Buckland that started that car. So it should be Nathan Harrison that he's handed over to in the MR2 Roadster.
Martin Buckland, a Sport Specials champion, class champion in the past with the 750 Motor Club. Driving this MR2 for the first time this weekend here at Donington Park. The Forza Motorsport liveried car. This car raced in the Silverstone 24 Hours, probably the last decade now. It's been sold on by the looks of things from Rogue Motorsport for this year. Meanwhile, wonder how Chris Byalon's getting on, getting that BMW back to the pit lane. We haven't seen it arrive here just yet. Meanwhile, the leaders come out of the hairpin to complete what is lap number 27 of this race now. Still Chris Brown ahead of Lance Gould. And let's see, the Lotus is back out there. The Gavin Johnson and Pip Hammond shared car looks to have been repaired. Meanwhile, we are still... here comes Byalon now. So Chris Byalon has made it back to the pits, and this will be very much a place for Jacob to head down to. The car making its way down into the pits now to see what the problem was with this M3 GTR.
Yes, Chris just arrived down here in the pits. I'm going to head down to his garage now and try and find out what the problem is. Very busy pit lane at the minute, as you would expect, as we approach the hour of this one. Chris, obviously not changing driver, so I can't ask him himself, but I'll try and find out from his team.
Thanks. Meanwhile, there's a car that has spun. That is number 191, I think it was.
Yeah, that's the additional entry. That's the Darren Anderson car. I think they may have now handed over to Philip Nagel. If they've done their mandatory driver change, but it was certainly Darren Anderson that started that car in the BMW.
Look like they're looking in the engine bay of the Chris Byalon car. So we will get word from them. We'll let the team do their work, I think, before Probably finding out what's going on. Meanwhile, Darren Ball and Julian McBride on the track together. A couple of M3s. It's the E92 model of Darren Ball that's being chased by Julian McBride across the line. You've got behind Brett Evans and then Marcus Clutton, who just sets the fastest lap of the race. A 1 minute 43.35. That's about a second quicker than what Michael Price did earlier on. So there, the fastest car on the track. Marcus Clutton, car number 74, is up into 7th place and is 43 seconds behind the leading stopper, Luke Sedjakowski.
Okay, so we'll see how all of this pans out. There is Clutton now, is just behind Julian McBride. In actual fact there, Julian McBride, the number 50 car, a man who's failed spinal surgery, had failed spinal surgery back in 2011, was in a wheelchair for a year and took up racing, which he never thought he'd be able to do in 2016, initially in the M3 Cup, where he's lapped on his debut at Anglesey. Still looking down the pit lane, we can still see Chris Byron's car with the bonnet up, so it looks like there is the problem there that is hopefully being worked on. And hopefully Jacob can find out what it is and report back to us in a moment. So watching the Brett Evans Mini going through shot, that's up at Coppice Corner. Where's the Brett Evans car running at the minute? 18th, I reckon.
Yep.
And what about 6th or 7th in within class at the moment.
Meanwhile, into the pits once again comes the Gavin Johnston Lotus. So it looks like Chris Byron's car's being pushed into the garage. Jacob?
Yep, they're just reeling it back in now. Chris has taken a quick comfort break, but I think he's just re-emerged at the back. I'm going to ask him just quickly what's going on. Chris, what's happened?
Not sure. They started to pull up loose power on going through the old hairpin, and then as she conked out, the t-shirt was in the red, so it's cooled down a bit. I went back to the pits, but I don't know what's wrong.
All right, thanks for talking to us, Chris. All the best for getting it fixed. Yep, not sure what the problem is at the minute. Hang on, a quick word from the mechanic.
Stone through the radiator.
Stone through the radiator, guys.
Side by side for position back out on track. That's between Darren Ball and Julian McBride in the two M3s.
15th place.
Yeah, 15th place. So, as I say, pit stop still to be shaken out, I guess, but a good bit of side-by-side action there between two drivers who had made their stop. So that was for track position.
Into the old hairpin they turn, then they've got a lap. One of the BMWs there, so they accelerate up the hill towards Schwantz Curve, and McLean's now do these two BMW M3, slightly newer model car for Darren Ball, who's having to fight hard to keep Julian McBride behind. McBride, I think, very much admits that he's going much better now in the second half of last year after moving away from the M3 Cup and concentrating on endurance racing, and has been really going strong. He finished third in the championship in Class A last year. He got 3 class podiums, which I don't think he would ever dreamt of at the beginning of last year. It's going really well now with Julian McBride.
Yeah, absolutely. But on this occasion, he's just lost out to Darren Ball for that position inside the top 15. And now a black flag again for Marcus Clutton. It's another stop-go penalty. And the car's been in the pit lane, I think, more times than it's sort of passed the Wheatcroft Straight, or gone down the Wheatcroft Straight past the pit lane. It's been in and out so much.
It might be worth Jacob finding out what's going on with that team. The 74 Porsche, with I think 3 stop-go penalties that car has had now. 2 while Marcus Clutton has been driving it, and we're unsure as to why. Meanwhile, this BMW battle continues. Julian McBride still trying to find a way past Darren Ball. He done it ever so briefly last time by, but as Ian said, back past went Darren Ball, but Julian McBride sitting right in the slipstream now of the car ahead for heading down towards Redgate. Meanwhile,
we've got one off into the gravel, and it is the Michael Downey Porsche Boxster. That is off in the gravel at the Fogarty S's. It's only a few feet off the edge of the circuit there.
Okay, we have news of why that Porsche has been penalised. The first one was for speeding in the pit lane,
which is what I thought, yeah.
And the second was for a refuelling infringement. So Marcus Clutton has been penalised for the 2, and of course the third penalty that we mentioned was the one taking the penalty for the pro driver.
Michael Downey getting out of his car now, and he will, I was going to sprint, amble towards the safe side of the barriers.
Into the pit lane comes Chris Brown to hand over to his son Mika. So the Jackpot Racing BMW in the pits and is doing its stop. So that means that Luke Sejakowski will take the lead, and of course he has stopped, so Luke Sejakowski will take the lead of the race and will be the car leading the way. But
Steve Cheetham, our Class B car, Class B leading car, comes in as well now. That's its first stop. So this, as you think now, with the mandatory stop, we are almost exactly an hour into the race. 58 minutes have gone by.
Down here in the pits, guys, Chris Brown has indeed jumped out of the car. Mika's about to go in, and I will have a quick word with Chris, if you'll allow me. Chris, you've pitted from the lead there. It's a good first stint.
Yes, really enjoyed it. Got back into the car. The car drags us along. It's just fantastic. The boys have set it up really well.
And Mika's about to go out now for the second hour of this race. Do you have faith in him to bring it home?
I certainly do. He's a faster driver and it's clearing up a little bit. So, of course, he's going to bring it home.
Any top tips for any drivers yet to go out this afternoon?
Just watch out for the gravel coming into the Melbourne Loop. There's an awful lot of it all over there.
Yeah, well, Chris Byallen's just come in with a stone through his radiator, so definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Back to you guys in the comms box.
Where we have a safety car out for the second time in this race, and if we didn't have the flurry of pit stops before, I think we will now. I think this will be for the car that's stranded at the exit of the Fogarty S's. That's the car of Michael Downey. You can see that Adam Morgan is now heading into the pits. And actually that's good timing as well, because it should be a pretty even stint then for him to hand over to William Beach, an ex-Honda Civic racer, who will take over for the second part of that race. There you can see the Morgan and Beach car in the pit lane, the fuel going in, so the driver's out. There's cover provided by a member of the team, a fire extinguisher, just in case there is a problem, and we sincerely hope there's not, as that car is refueled. And this is the same up and down the pit lane. All of the teams have to provide someone to give fire cover. And there is Adam Morgan just having a word with William Beach. You can see his Sicily sponsorship on his helmet as well, for the 7-time British Touring Car Championship race winner.
Behind them is the Honda Civic that's come in of Danny Hobson to hand over to Mark Rice, the 3-time runner-up in the Civic Cup. Mark Rice taking that car over. Mark Rice also a winner at the Burkitt Relay, I think. There's the Jackpot Racing BMW that Mika Brown is about to take over. And I wonder, coming in when they did, just before the safety car came out, whether that's going to be an advantage for them. Very much experienced drivers are Stalin Father pair and Mika and Chris Brown. Also in Aston Martins though, they raced at the Aston Martin Festival at the Le Mans 24-hour weekend a few years ago. Also have raced in Britcar and GT Cup 2.
Now, the Marcus Clutton car is driving into the garage by the looks of it.
Is that a problem? Let's see if Jacob's anywhere nearby to find out what's going on there. To the car that was one of the favourites, the car that started on pole position, then into the garage, the Marcus Clutton and Michael Price shared car. That car was in second place when it made its way into the pit lane, so that car is out of the way. So I wonder if Luke Sejakowski, no, he's not quite going to have a lap on the field, is he? Because Mika Brown has already headed out onto the circuit again, and yet to pit is Mark Mercer to hand over to his dad, Dave, but they are leading Class B. They're third overall.
Meanwhile, the marshals are now with the Michael Downey Porsche Boxster, trying to manfully, and womanfully possibly, I don't know, push it out of the gravel trap. They are not having any joy, and I think they're probably going to need some mechanical intervention in order to get that out of the way. So it's going to be a little while yet, I suggest, before we get the race back underway. There they are. And yeah, Marshall's opened the door saying, this isn't working, mate. Now there's progress. But yeah, Michael Downey, yeah, I think they've decided to call it a day, and they'll get a snatch vehicle to collect that. So it's going to be a few more moments before this race gets back underway. There's Adam Morgan in the pit lane after his stint. Maybe if Jacob gets a chance, have to find out what's going on with Marcus Clutton and Michael Price. We can hear from Adam Morgan as well.
Is that Julian McBride back in too? Yeah. So we believe he had already done his stops, so possible problem there. The 1 Series BMW in as well. That's the Nick Grove and the Carlo Turner shared car. This pairing finished 6th in the Class B Championship last year, but have moved into this new car for this year, the car that's prepared by Jeff Steele Racing, but run privately by the Camel Storm team at the weekend. So that's into the pits. As you can see, William Beach has taken the Clio out that Adam Morgan brought in. Also see the Class C leader is in too, so that's Imran Khan to hand over to Andrew Lightstead. However, there is no team by him, so has he gone the wrong garage? You can see sprinting up the pit lane is Andrew Lightstead, as Imran Khan couldn't find a space where his pit crew were, so the team have had to bring down the fuel as well. You can see jumping out the car, Imran Khan, and he's preparing the fire extinguisher for the pit stop when the fuel goes in.
It's possible that's just as close he could get to where he's supposed to be. There's so many cars in the pit lane at the moment. It necessitated a jog from Lightstead.
You can see how much of a private effort this is. It's just the two drivers that are working on the pit stop.
Yeah. But this is the true spirit, if you like, of Club Enduro, isn't it? This is what it's all about. It's those, you know, proper privateer entries with, you know, not big teams working with them. This is what it's all about. Meanwhile, as you can see on your screens, for those of you watching on the live stream, hello, wherever you are, by the way, it is the number 76 car that is now recovered from its gravel trap, and Michael Danny's car should be able to be towed back. Hope you're enjoying watching on the live stream as well as here at the circuit. And now problems. Another car is stranded, and that is number 50, Julian McBride, and he was one that was up inside the top 10 and certainly the top 15 after his stop.
But we saw him come in just a few moments ago for a short stop, and now the car has pulled off. As soon as it's really come down the pit lane, down the Craner curves, that car has stopped. So one problem the marshals have sorted out pretty much out the S is they're going to have another to do in a moment.
Do we have news from Jacob?
We are down here with the number 79, the car that you guys were talking about being just the two drivers themselves, and we've got a couple of supporters here.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, myself and what's his name?
Whoever that goes.
Rob, yeah, we've been helping the guys out this morning. We're doing getting the wheels and that ready, swapped over, and just getting everything prepped, doing the driver changes, the seat belts and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's just a bit slow with these tough jogs with the fuel going on.
Just how much of a challenge is it to get one of these cars out for this race?
A huge amount. I mean, Andrew and Imran, they've been racing together for quite a few years. Andrew picked up this to do the 750 Motor Club 3 Series Challenge a couple of years ago, and he's done so much work. It's incredible.
Yeah, thanks for having a word with us. Just before we come back up to you in the Comspots, guys, the Price and Clutton 74 car, word from them is that the penalties have hampered their race too much and they have retired.
That's a bitter blow for them, because that was the team that certainly had the most pace, and certainly the driver, Marcus Clutton, had the most pace. Now, we've still got Julian McBride's car to be rescued. Julian McBride out of the car now, and now he's going to get back into the car again because the Manitou is on the scene to come and collect that. I suspect, if anything, this might have prolonged the safety car period. I think we might have got going again had it not been for this separate incident with, I say incident, it's just a retirement, isn't it, for McBride. Now Darren Ball even is just heading out of the pit lane again, so he's been another driver that's been in multiple times, it seems.
So perhaps some drivers in the earlier stop didn't do the full 3-minute pit stop. It would be the presumption that we make from afar. Meanwhile, there's a car crawling into the pit lane. Is it going to make it? No, it suddenly speeds up again. That's Ivor Mayers in his BMW. He was doing pretty well. I think he was second in Class C behind the Lightstead and Khan pairing. That was the car that had the bonnet come up earlier, wasn't it?
And you can see the black gaffer tape on the front of the car. That is the legacy of that, the Taylor Yates entered machine for the man from Northern Ireland. Ivor Mayers, who's done some Formula Ford 1600 racing in his time as well. Can't be a bad man in my book.
Regular at the Formula Ford Festival, isn't he, every year? But in the last few years has been racing with the 750 Motor Club, mainly in Club Enduro, but he's upgraded his compact this year to a 330, and very much a similar car to the Lightstead and Khan team that have gone on their way. So I think Khan will have given Andrew Lightstead the Class C lead still, I reckon. We'll have to get confirmation of that once we get back to green and everything on the screens sort themselves out. But a really good stint from Imran Khan, first time in that car.
Absolutely, but he's a driver, as you say, that's won his class in road sports race in the past and in the XR2 and classic stock casual, so he's no mean peddler, isn't Imran Khan, and probably didn't get out in the car as much as he'd like, really. Any more news from you, Jacob?
Yeah, we're down here in the pits with the Class B leader, Mark Mercer. Mark, how's it going for you?
Yeah, good. It's our first time out in this car, so a bit of a learning curve, but it's going well so far.
You enjoying it?
Yeah, it was good fun, good fun. It's getting quite hot in there, but apart from that.
And I believe it's your dad who's gone out now.
Yep, yeah, he's out to do his stint. You know, just, should be able to hold us where we are.
Who's quicker, you or him?
He won't mind me. He's 70 this year, so still very consistent. You know, only a little bit slower.
All right, great, thank you. Back to you in the comms box, guys.
Thanks, Jacob. Diplomatically put. As we watch the safety car train, which is heading down to the hairpin, down to the Melbourne hairpin, out of our window.
Mark was saying how experienced David Mercer is. He started racing in mod sports back in 1975, and won races there before racing in mod sports cars. Run at Le Mans, finished second in Group C2 at Le Mans.
He likes Donington Park as well because he won the first mod sports championship round when Donington Park reopened in 1977. I think he was on the same grid and therefore beat Jonathan Palmer on that occasion as well. Jonathan Palmer, who's Motorsport Vision, operate the least to Donington Park these days. And I have to say, doesn't Donington Park look absolutely fantastic, as good as it ever has done, I think. And great work been done by Jonathan and the Motorsport Vision team here to make this circuit look absolutely magnificent. When you consider the shape it was in, just under a decade ago, it's a remarkable transformation.
Absolutely. Safety car carries on round though, so they must be continuing to work with Julian McBride, getting that car to a safe place. So the Rannon McGowan 750 Motor Club safety car has Brett Evans behind him. Brett Evans actually running in 7th position as he crosses the line in a Class B car. That Mini's going really well actually, isn't it? It's very much an unlikely car for this, but the R56, the car that's run by Autobahn Motorsport, running there in 3rd in Class B. It may well gain a place or two on the stops. I think Steve Cheetham, though, does continue to lead the category. Meanwhile, up front, it's Luke Sedgwickowski that lead with David Whitmore. We remember the Civic, we were saying, was struggling in the first stint. Well, they're in 2nd place now, Rob Baker and Cole Swift, so good strategy from Area Motorsport. They've done a lot of endurance racing. Winners at the Burkitt Relay in both handicap and overall form, and winners in Club Enduro in the past 2. And then in 3rd position, it's the Chris and Micah Brown pair. In 4th is Steve Cheetham. And then we have to wait and see who's in 5th, because the screens say it's the Mercer duo, but of course we know that car has just pitted, as has the car in 6th position, which is a car we haven't really mentioned much. That's John Gardner and Paul Huxley in one of the Seat Super Copa cars.
Darren Ball into the pit lane again. This time there's refuelling going on. But he's been into the pits far more often than he would have liked by now. And so it looks like his race not going well. So what have we got? We've got about 50 minutes of this race left to go now. We're under safety car here at Donington Park in round 1 of the 2019 TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. It's being led by Luke Sedgwickowski at the moment, from Rob Baker in 2nd place. Micah Brown is 3rd. Class B leader Steve Cheetham is 4th. Jacob.
Yep, we're down here with race leader Dave Whitmore. Dave, how's Luke doing out there?
He's doing a really good job. Start the race, we set our fastest lap really, but with all the fuel and the temperature today, it went off pretty quick, so struggling a little bit. And with the Porsche, and the GTR car behind us, it kept pushing us all the way through. And because we had to keep the pressure on, it didn't give us any time to cool the car down in any state. So Luke's got in it now. Hopefully we can manage it, bring it home, and have a safe race.
Obviously the Porsche's retired now. Is anyone else would you say is your biggest worry?
I never ever want to say, I think everything's your biggest worry when you're leading a race, because there's only one place to go, isn't it? And that's downwards. So, yeah, there's plenty of good cars out there, super drivers everywhere. Obviously the M4s and the GTR cars, stuff like that. But if the race gods permit it, I think we'll bring this one home, hopefully. Touch wood.
Well, all the best for that. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Back to you guys upstairs.
Thank you very much indeed. Safety car lights are still on. I thought for a moment that they might have gone out, but we've got Julie McBride's car now cleared out of the way. It's just parked up against the barriers there, not far from Will Ashmore's Civic, which was left there earlier on.
Looks like the safety car wants to do a wave by before we can go green again, so that's what's happening at the moment. So we will pick up the leader, Luke Sedgwickowski, who is just passing the line now, so we're about a dozen cars that will go through. It's a full lap, I think. Yes, it's a full lap lead that Luke Sedgwickowski has got over Rob Baker, so therefore the battle is really for 2nd place, which is Rob Baker just ahead of Micah Brown. See how many cars are between the two of them. Not too many, I don't think. And then Steve Cheetham, the Class B leader, They're in 4th place, and on the same lap as him is the David Mercer BMWs, as is Brett Evans, but Brett Evans is going to have to come round and catch the safety car queue. In Class C, it is Andrew Lightstead that leads that. They're in 12th overall, him and the car that Imran Khan started. Second in Class C is Nick Dougal, who's handed over to John Munro. That's the Mazda MX-5. And third in Class C is solo driver Graham Kelly. So that's how the podium sit in the classes.
Yeah, so this wave by of the back markers continues, and hopefully what they'll do is make a little bit of progress to try and catch back up with the train before it's released. We have got 47 minutes of this race left to go. It's a 2-hour race, of course, for the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. Still more races to come after this, of course, here at Donington Park, with Low Cost rounding out the programme at the end of the afternoon. But we've got this safety car situation still going on here in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship, and hopefully before too much longer we'll get racing back under. We've not had any major incidents here, of course. This has just been cars that have been stranded in dangerous positions that have needed to be recovered out of the way. Now it looks like the safety car has now got behind it the BMW, doesn't it, which is right.
Absolutely. Then there's just a car to the 2nd and 3rd place cars, but of course they are a lap further behind. The safety car lights have gone out, I think, so we'll go racing with about 3/4 of an hour remaining here at Donington Park in round 1 of TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship 2019 season. 2 hours of Donington Park here. We go to Croft next. That'll be a longer race though. 3 hours we have in North Yorkshire in a month and a half time, but we'll concentrate on this one, the 2 hours of Donington Park, about to get back underway. The BMW M4 leading the way, Ian.
Yep, it is. So we've got 3/4 of an hour left to go. We've got most, if not all, of the teams now having made their pit stops, but still not quite all of them. And we've got Luke Sedjakowski then in the TEGIWA Imports car leading the way then as the race gets back underway, but they're chased by the Honda Civic.
And that's the battle for 2nd place up the inside of Rob Baker. Attempts to come Mika Brown, so this is the change for 2nd place. Mika Brown wasting no time to get past Rob Baker, so the Jackpot Racing BMW goes past the Area Motorsport car, but they're a full lap behind the leaders.
Yeah, so realistically not going to catch Luke Sedjakowski, so it's probably all going to be about that battle for P2 there. You can see the number 27 William Beach Clio just making its way down through the corner curves. William having taken over from Adam Morgan, who drove the car in the first part of the race. There is Steve Cheetham, our Class B leader, looking to make up ground. Now, how much daylight between himself and David Mercer does he have? 10 seconds is all that he has in hand, so he can't really afford to rest on his laurels now. There is the now Andrew Lightstead driven red number 79 BMW 330. That was just going through shot there. Leaders are up at Coppice Corner and should be heading back down towards us any moment now.
You've got 2 BMW M4s here, but they're very much different because the Luke Sedjakowski car is a self-developed car, so built up from a production car, whereas the brown car is built by BMW Motorsport. It is a GT4 built car, built to that spec, not quite running in GT4 spec because you have to put the treaded tyres on, you have to run to the power to weight ratio too, so not running in full GT4 spec of course here in Club Enduro, but a self-developed car for Luke Sedjakowski, going really well, a lap ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Things have fallen well for them, especially with the demise of the Price and the Clutton Porsche Cayman. That was a force to be reckoned with. Here is the, I think now, Asdegul-driven Porsche coming through some traffic.
And they were battling with Luke Schlevitz in the Gulf, well, no, not in the same class. That is the battle for 7th and 8th. However, although the Gold's down in 8th place, they are running in 4th position in Class A because Class A has been pretty attritional. Only, about 6 of the Class A cars in the top 20.
Yeah, we started out with fairly even numbers, didn't we, across the 3 classes, but it certainly seems that the Class A cars, maybe in this heat, or only in April, are falling by the wayside a little bit more readily than some of the others.
So there is the leader, turning through the old hairpin.
And there's the 2nd place car, so it looks quite tasty, doesn't it, on track, but a lap between them.
And Mika Brown's first lap is the personal best lap of that car, 1:44.81, and lapping a bit quicker as well than the car ahead. So I guess what Mika Brown's going to be trying to do here is getting that car onto the lead lap, and then they'll be wanting another safety car, I guess, to close it back up.
That's their best hope from here, isn't it? I mean, there's probably not, I wouldn't have thought there's a lot to choose between Luke Sedjakowski and and Mika Brown in terms of their lap times as a general point once they're both up to speed.
Yeah, Sejankowski was 4 tenths quicker in qualifying, so very much even. I guess Sejankowski has seen a lot of the Class A cars pull off. He doesn't need to drive as fast as the cars trying to chase him, so it's sort of a bit of a, do you want to keep the lap advantage or do you want to let him go and just run your own race?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a bit hard to defend against a car that's effectively a lap behind you.
Ooh, and the car behind has spun.
It's all academic then, because Mika Brown there has spun down at the Melbourne hairpin, and there is some damage on the right rear quarter of that car. It may not have been completely self-inflicted.
Absolutely, we're coming through a load of traffic too, so that means Rob Baker is back into second position, I think. Let's just check that.
Yep, on screen we can see that.
And here's the car with damage. It's going to bring another car into the pit lane with it. That's the Luke Handley Honda Civic that was running in 5th position in Class B. And it did have a stop-go penalty to serve too, but there is damage to that car, and that was in the region of where Mika Brown was.
And it's sort of matching damage, isn't it? On the left front of his car, it's the right rear of Mika Brown's car, so it may have been that they had a little coming together under braking for the Melbourne hairpin that time. It wouldn't be the first incident we've had down at the Melbourne hairpin today.
I'm sure it's nothing that was done purposely. That is an Area Motorsport car, though. The team that is run by Rob Baker, who's just gained second place due to that. But Baker is only 9 tenths of a second ahead of Mika Brown, so the battle for second does continue. I think they're the cars up at McLean's at the moment, so Rob Baker back into second place. There is the now damaged M4 of Mika Brown chasing the second place car up towards Coppice.
And the one thing he's got to hope for there is that he doesn't get the meatball flag, the black flag with the orange spot on it, which warns of some damage to the car that needs to be attended to in the pits. My untrained eye, I am not an expert in this, looks as if I don't think he should get that penalty, but if that bumper looks as to work any further loose, then that situation could change.
See how much quicker that car is in a straight line, but a heavier car, of course. To meet these power to weight ratio that we mentioned, 300 brake horsepower per tonne is the limit in Class A, down into the Melbourne hairpin, and Brown's looking up the inside of Rob Baker, and Baker's just letting him go. He knows that BMW is much quicker, it would seem, so Rob Baker just lets Mika Brown go, and he's going to run his own races. Rob Baker, he's raced in enough endurance races to know that he doesn't want to damage his Honda Civic either.
Well, absolutely. It's a lot about consistency in this kind of racing, isn't it? And so Baker will be keen to promote that.
Huge slide out the hairpin for Mika Brown. I think that's what Rob Baker was trying to avoid, wasn't it?
Yeah, possibly so.
Mika Brown on a bit of a mission after that contact with a back marker a lap or so ago. As he turns then into Redgate, does Mika Brown now in second place once more. Steve Cheetham there in 4th place is only a further 3 seconds behind Rob Baker, so the Class B leader Cheetham then going well and pulling away from David Mercer. What was a 10-second gap has, I think, doubled at least since the safety car came in.
That 51 Civic that was involved in that incident of Luke Handley, that is now being pushed down the pit lane, and that looks to be out of the race.
Oh yes, you can see it's heavier damage than I think we first thought as well, so maybe that pushed the damage into the radiator perhaps, and obviously that has much more serious effects. It's 28 seconds that Steve Cheetham is ahead of David Mercer, so I think, as Mark was saying, his dad not quite as quick as he is. So what can Brett Evans do, I wonder, about David Mercer? He's quite a long way back at the moment, and Brett Evans actually is under a lot of pressure from Luke Slavitz in the Volkswagen Golf. That's for 3rd and 4th in Class B, only separated by 1.5 seconds. So that is the Mini being chased by the Golf. I think 2 cars, they're the only modern. They're side by side, actually heading down towards the Goddard's hairpin. They've just been lapped by the leader, and through goes Luke Slavitz up the inside of Brett Evans. They turn into the corner. Evans fights back. He's coming back up the inside of Slavitz. So the Mini and the Golf are absolutely side by side as they're going to complete the lap. They're being lapped by some of the Class A cars. Better traction off the corner from Luke Slavitz. The Class A champion from last year goes up into 3rd within Class B, and he's about a minute behind David Mercer. But
also for position, you've got the Porsche there as well, haven't you? Which is Alistair Gould coming through, different class. That's in Class A, but that was trying to sort of separate them there. Didn't quite manage it as they ran through Hollywood that time. So you've got the Golf, you've got the Mini, then you've got the Porsche, which is in a different race effectively, because points are scored within each individual class in this championship rather than based on overall finishing position. Mini almost freewheeling it there through the old hairpin of Brett Evans as he tries to get back on terms with Luke Slavitz.
Brett Evans also was running Class A before in a BMW. Podium finisher within Class A is Brett Evans. He won actually the Anglesey race a couple of years ago, finished 7th in Class A, but of course the car that just passed him was the champion in Class A. So two drivers who were in M3s last year have moved down into Class B, but having a good battle nevertheless.
Yep, 37 minutes left to go in this race. Still the lead being held by Luke Sejikowski, who took over from David Whitmore by a lap from the rest of the field. And of the cars that are still out there and circulating, that is the car with the best lap at 1:43.95 as well. There is the Brett Evans car once again, man from Halesowen in the West Midlands. Now lost a few car lengths to Luke Schlevitz in that battle for third place in Class B. Don't forget it's David Mercer up ahead in P2, and Steve Cheetham still leading Class B with the advantage over the Mercer car.
Absolutely, so Luke Schlevitz will be trying to close that gap in. It's a big gap at the moment, but I think it is a possible margin that can be caught, because Luke Schlevitz looked quite a bit quicker than David Mercer on the last lap. The gap is 55 seconds, but he was 5 seconds quicker, and it's certainly at that rate there is time to close in the second place car in Class B.
Yeah, so there is the fourth place car as it now is in Class B, which is Brett Evans, just ahead of the Oscar Down. Now there is the Boxster back out. That is the Michael Downey car that was in the gravel trap. So that's been released in his back out race again. That's the ex-Broad family Boxster, I believe, as we watch the Brett Evans Mini go through.
About 20 seconds behind Brett Evans is Rob Boston in the Lotus Elise that was started by Peter Mansfield, and he's lapping much quicker than any other Class B driver at the moment. So watch out for the Lotus. Rob Boston 20 seconds or so behind that Mini at the moment, but on the last lap was a couple of seconds faster.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of traffic out there at the moment, of course, but Rob Boston, a very experienced driver in most notably 2010 it was. He won the Mazda MX-5 Championship, which I can scarcely believe it was that many years ago that he won that championship.
But I think he's been back in Mazda since and won races, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
But maybe not done a full season. Of course, has won the Lotus Elise Trophy too. I think that's him just turning through the corner there. Meanwhile, there's Micah Brown making his way through that battle for what is 7th position between Brett Evans and Alistair Gould. Alistair Gould has got past Evans on this lap.
Graham Kelly is into the pit lane in the number 188 car.
Third in class, Graham Kelly, so that may well promote Ivor Mares onto the Class C podium.
Yeah, it's worth saying in Class C, obviously that's... Oh, let's first of all hear from Jacob.
Yes, I'm down here in the pits with one of our pro drivers, Mr. Adam Morgan. Adam, how are you enjoying yourself this afternoon?
Yeah, it's really good fun. I can think of a lot worse things to do on a bank holiday on a Monday. So, no, it's been a great day out. You know, Will's in the car now. We've pitted. I think we're about 6th in class. So, Will keep his head down, stay out of trouble, and hopefully we can bring it home and gain a couple of places.
Obviously, we're more used to seeing you in the British touring cars with the Mac Tools team. How does the Club Enduro compare?
Slightly different. Yeah, it's a different format of the weekend for us. We've normally got 3 races, which is a very, very busy day for us. So, Sunday today has been quite chilled, it's quite relaxed, but it's great. You know, it's a great weekend. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully back for some more.
And what do you make of the venue, Donington Park, as a circuit?
It's great, yeah. It's a great circuit. You know, I've loved coming in to touring cars. We've had some great results. I'm actually back here this week for touring cars later on, so I've been looking for a few little tips around the way. But no, it's a great track.
Thanks for talking to us, Adam. Much appreciated. All the best for the race.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Ian, Josh, back to you guys.
And we've got another pit stop penalty going out, and this time it's to the number 5 car, which is the car being shared by the father and daughter, Peter Gillett and Nicola Gillett, in the second half of the race. It should be, he said, checking his notes, it should be Peter that's driving this car. So that possibly is another pit stop infringement or something like that.
Just going through the shot there, Woods the Class C leader, Andrew Lightstead still lead. Of course, both him and Imran Khan raced the same Ford Fiesta XR2, didn't they? In classic stock catch, Imran Khan bought that off of Andrew Lightstead, and
that's right.
Both of them won races there. We still, of course, we get classic stock catch on the live stream coverage later in the year, but that started at Brands Hatch with a number of 750 Motor Club series just last weekend. Here they come then, Andrew Lightstead at the wheel, turning his way through the old hairpin in this BMW 330 that he ran in the 330 Challenge last year, got on the podium in that towards the end of 2018, did Andrew Lightstead. And they make their way up towards McLean. Second in Class C continues to be John Munro in his Mazda MX-5, but I think it's the best part of a lap behind now.
Yeah, John Munro, ex-Max 5 champion in 2016, I think it was, wasn't it? That he took the championship, and he's been racing in this Enduro format for a little while now. I think it's a bit of motorsport commentary as well when he's not racing himself. 21-year-old student from up there in Scotland. It was the youngest ever driver in a top 10 sprint back in 2014, when he'd only been, I guess, 16 years old at the time, so that was quite something at the time. So there's the 79 car of Lightstead, still the Class C leading machine, but we've got a gap coming down.
Well, the second place car just comes across the line now, so that is almost a lap, isn't it, in Class C that Andrew Lightstead has. That in time terms, that is 90 seconds.
Yeah, 3/4 of a lap, basically, isn't it?
Yes. Graham Kelly, though, I think was a short stop, wasn't it? Maybe a penalty. So he actually has held on to third place in Class C, 15 seconds ahead of Ivor Mears, and then fifth place in class is Sam McKee.
Chris Byallen's back out there, I noticed, but a car that's into the pit lane now is the number 23 car. That's the Ben McCauley and Graham Robinson car. I think it was started by Ben. That was a car that needed a clutch change, I think, before the race. And also in now, that is the Peter Gillett car for the pit stop penalty. And out it goes again. So there goes Peter, local driver from Loughborough, enjoying his endurance racing, having started out racing in Formula Ford 1600 up in Scotland many years ago.
Somebody just had a run through the gravel up there at the S's, but continued without problem. In Class B, we mentioned earlier about David Mercer being closed by Luke Slavitz. That gap now is about 45 seconds, so it's not coming down perhaps as quickly as we first imagined. And Brett Evans a further 7 seconds behind, but Evans is now only 3 ahead of Rob Boston. So we said that Rob Boston was catching, is nearly with Brett Evans now. Actually, by the end of the lap, they may well be right together.
In spite of the fact that Brett Evans has just done his personal best lap of the race as well at 1:49.81, but Boston's just done a 1:46.73, so lapping 3 seconds a lap faster. That's pretty incredible. So that will be for what, 4th place within within Class B.
And Rob Boston a couple of seconds faster than anybody else in Class B, so it's not just Brett Evans that is going much faster than it's the rest of them. So we wait for them to complete another lap to see if that position changes. Meanwhile, on the screens you can see Andrew Lightstead continuing to run at the top of his category, Class C for Lightstead. Then he turns out of the hairpin with half an hour to go. And here, coming out of the chicane, is that battle for Class B we were mentioning. So Brett Evans is still ahead of Rob Boston, heading down towards the Melbourne hairpin. And it is the Mini still ahead of the Lotus. They make their way out of the hairpin. On the screens you can see these two cars now. This is for 4th and 5th in class. I think the question is how high Rob Boston can get up in Class B. He's looking up the inside in towards Goddard's, and Boston, much lighter Lotus, a smaller engine of course, a lower powered car, but with the power to weight, the much lighter car therefore, and therefore much more nimble through the corners. Up to 4th in class goes Rob Boston, and he's now got about 9 seconds to make up on Luke Slavitz. So that is the target there for Rob Boston. And then I guess the next thing is if he can catch David Mercer there, second in category.
Yeah, that's another 40 seconds ahead though, isn't it? So that is not out of the question quite, but it's going to be a tall order. There's another Class A car that they need to get past as well first. That's the Alistair Gould Porsche as well that Rob Boston will need to negotiate. That's about 7 seconds up the road. It was at the start of the lap, probably about 6 seconds now. He's making such good progress away from Brett Evans there.
See Rob Baker going through shot. He's now half a minute behind Micah Brown. So the Civic just doesn't have the pace I think I was expecting it would do this weekend. Whether it's not running on full power or there's a problem with it. We've seen the Area Motorsport Civic go so strongly in the past, or whether it is just that what you mentioned earlier, Ian, about everybody else picking their game up since we last saw that car in the hands of Rob Baker and Cole Swift a couple of years ago.
Possibly so. There is Rob Boston there making his way down the straight towards the Fogarty S's, and you can see actually it's quite a bit of daylight back to Brad Evans behind him now.
The only cars lapping quicker than Boston are the two M4s up front, so that kind of puts it in perspective. It's quicker than almost all the Class A cars as well.
Yeah, and this really does show the quality of a driver you have on board. Chris Byallen, who had gone back out again, is back into the pits again, so possibly just an exploratory lap or two there, but Byallen back out of the race.
Some of it might be to get the car ready for the BMW Car Club series that he'll be out in later on this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone's keeping a tally of how many races each driver in the country is doing so far this year, but Chris Byallen must be somewhere near the top of that count, given the amount of racing he's done so far this year.
So Rob Boston is now 6 seconds behind Luke Slavitz for second in Class B, because the Mercer car has gone missing. So that question mark we had about whether they could be caught might have disappeared. Not unless that's a transponder issue at all, but the Mercer BMW has gone missing on the screen. So that means up to second in Class B comes Luke Slavitz, who's being caught. Just 6 seconds behind is Rob Boston, and Boston is lapping a couple of seconds faster. So second and third in Class B is something to look out for.
Yeah, so we'll try and find out where that number 41 David Mercer BMW M3 has gone. That was running so well in Class B. So Cheetham and Schlevitz now out on their own first and second, and Boston up already into the podium places, and he's only 6 seconds now behind the Schlevitz Volkswagen Golf as we work the last 27 minutes of this race. 26 minutes just ticking through on the clock now.
No sign of that Mercer BMW around the circuit.
I didn't see it come into the pit lane either, so possibly it's found a place just out of view of all of the cameras. It's perfectly possible for that to happen here at Donington.
See, Rob Baker's car is now being passed by Class B machines. Is that Civic in trouble, I wonder?
Last lap was a 1:49. It was just 3 seconds off its best, but we'll see what lap time it does this time through, assuming it comes through to complete a lap.
Meanwhile, Lance Gould has got past Luke Slavitz, which means Rob Boston has clear road to challenge him, and into the pit lane. He's thinking Rob Baker, then he sort of pulled out the way, and I think we might have found the Mercer BMW there, parked up against the barriers.
It is just on the way down to the Melbourne hairpin, so it looks like it's in a position of relative safety there.
But what I was going to say, it looked like Rob Baker was pulling into the pits, and he changed his mind. It was a much lower lap, a 1 minute 51 seconds, but he continued. So we'll have to watch out for that, as well as that battle for second in Class B. Luke Slavitz being closed in by Rob Boston, just 2.3 seconds between the two of them, and that gap is coming down at quite a rate, really. The two cars then make their way up towards McLean's, and they turn their way through the right hand up, and the Lotus now right on the tail of the Volkswagen Golf as they turn their way up towards Coppice Corner now, and Rob Boston looks up the inside, and I think he's going to go through. So Rob Boston gains the place. Rob Boston's up to second. We can see that on the screens now. Boston up to second in Class B. I don't think it's going to catch Steve Cheetham because they're almost a lap behind, really.
Yeah.
But up to second, a good drive there, and the Golf had nothing to stop Rob Boston coming through.
No, absolutely. I mean, the lap times he's been doing far superior in the 1:46s. The best lap that the Golf has done is a low 49, so 2.5 seconds slower, really, than Rob Boston. So any defence was also going to be futile, I think. Let's watch Boston just getting the back of the car stepping out a little bit there as he came through the Melbourne hairpin. That time, a warning flag. We saw one go out a moment ago to Julian McBride. There's one now going out to number 25, Darren Ball as well. Does that mean that Julian McBride at some point got back into this race? I'm not sure whether he did or not. No, his car is still parked down there at the Melbourne, not Melbourne hairpin, the old hairpin. As into the pits now, does it? No. Well, I'm just wondering if that's just a problem then, coming out of the slow corners.
Could well be.
And it makes it look like he's going to hug the pit wall or come into the pit lane, but just because he's maybe lost one of the lower gears, something like that, possibly, so he's not got good acceleration out of the slow corners.
This is Rob Baker, of course, in the Area Motorsport Civic, who's sort of lapping the same sort of time as Brett Evans, his Class B Mini. In Class A, really the Area Motorsport team haven't got huge amounts to worry about. If they want third overall, though, they're only 14 seconds ahead of the Class B leader, Steve Cheetham, who is closing the gap in. you can see the car park at the Crane of Curves where Julian McBride's car is stopped. But here's Rob Baker then trying to get past Brett Evans. I wonder if the other reason he's going tight out the corner so nobody hits him up the back, and Brett Evans, I don't think, likes being involved in the battle with this car, but I don't think Rob Baker has too much choice if there is a problem.
I don't think either of them have got any choice about it, have they, by the looks of it at the moment. We've got the BMW just coming up behind them as well. 22 minutes of the race left to go in this 2019 TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship opener. Don't forget, TEGIWA also putting up a £200 voucher for the driver or team of the race as well, which will be adjudicated afterwards.
Again, out the slow corner, Rob Baker's Civic just takes a long time to pick up, doesn't it? And it's actually early on the brakes into the hairpin as well, as Brett Evans looks to come back past the car. He kind of just let through just a couple of corners ago.
Yeah, and it is not that quick away from the hairpin there, is it? But not that slow either there. So let's see what happens this time at the Goddard. Is it maybe it's an issue on left-handers? Who knows? Yeah, certainly, yeah, it's much slower there. The Mini nearly has to come to a stop behind it. But they're sort of making it work, aren't they? Rob Baker's sort of making that work. He's driving around a problem, clearly, now.
Well, I guess if anybody's in the car, the team boss is the best person to sort of drive around the problem. He knows that car better than anybody, but he's now only 10 seconds ahead of Steve Cheetham, and in fact, Rob Baker sort of lapping slower than most of the drivers behind him, but it's the Gould Porsche that's the 4th place in Class B. But I think they're quite a way back, really, so Rob Baker just needs to keep driving on as he is and drive around the problem, get it home. Behind him, Brett Evans was very sideways, coming through the hairpin.
And then the car behind that, Nick Grove in the Storm & Camel Motorsport team, got a yellow flag coming out of Foxes. That's the MR2 that's had a moment, isn't it?
Yep, but that's got back going, so that's the car that Nathan Harrison took over from Martin Buckland, the 22 GT Racing run MR2. Nathan Harrison, a winner in MR2s in the past, the Mark 1 MR2s, but Nathan Harrison in this much more modified car, the Super GT car, the car that was built by Rogue Motorsport about a decade or so ago. And meanwhile, Rob Boston has caught Alistair Gould for 5th overall. I noticed the two cars running quite close to one another for 5th and 6th overall, but different classes. Notice Class C for 3rd place has come right together now. Graham Kelly has been caught by Sam McKee. McKee's already got past Ivan Mayer, so 4th in class for McKee, and he's now getting on to terms with Graham Kelly. Meanwhile, on the screens, we see Rob Boston, who is up to 5th because the Gould Porsche's had a moment. The Gould Porsche's down to 7th, and into the pit lane comes Rob Baker. So the Area Motorsport Civic, it would seem, can last no more. So this is a job for Jacob down in the pits, because the 3rd place car is making its way down there. Rob Baker for Area Motorsport is into the pits.
Yeah, so Baker trying to drive around that issue, but clearly could do so no longer. They've got fuel on standby as well.
But they didn't fuel the car up in the stops. Has it run out of fuel? Because this car normally can go for 2 hours, and instead it was happening on left-hand corner.
Looks like a fuel surge issue then, or something like that. They were probably hoping that they'd be able to get to the end, and it's just not quite worked out. And so that means that Rob Baker has to get out of the car while this is going on. Jacob?
Yeah, I'm just going to try and find out what's going on. Rob's looks to be waiting to go back in. He's taking his gloves off. I'll try and grab a quick word. Rob, what's the issue?
I think the lift pump's gone down on one side of the tank because it's just surging around left-handers, but we've got 40 litres left still in the tank, so we're just going to put more fuel in, see if it sorts it.
There's the issue, guys.
It's only had the fuel left, but as we heard from Rob there, a problem with the actual fuel tank. And is it Cole Swift getting into the car? It is, isn't it?
It is indeed.
So Cole Swift arguably perhaps a bit quicker driver than Rob Baker maybe. Rob Baker, though, the reigning Civic Cup champion, so kind of when we didn't see him sort of do a full season until last year, and then you realise I think Rob Baker was perhaps a bit quicker than some people realise.
Yeah, absolutely. A very competitive championship that was in as well. We had a moment down here for Aaron Baller, who thinks car has now been pushed to the safe side of the barriers. It had a moment there. Meanwhile, there's a bit of tank tape going on, I think, to the front of the Area Motorsport Civic as well. Possibly for some front-end damage before that car can get back out into the race again. Obviously, it's going to be dropping down the order all the time. It was up in P3. But well, I guess the question is, will it lose a position in class to the Gall's Porsche.
That's just gone across the line, so is that... It's got to do another lap, has it, before it would gain the position, I think. I check that on the screens when they sort themselves out. Meanwhile, I notice Rob Boston up into 5th overall. It's about 70 seconds behind Steve Cheetham, so despite going quicker, I don't think he'll be able to catch the Class B leader. There is Boston, in fact, turning his way onto Coppice Corner, about to lap one of the MX-5s.
Yeah, so with 17 and a bit minutes left to go, we've got still Luke Sedgwickowski leading the way overall. Comfortable advantage that he's got over the second place car, which is that of Micah Brown, which has just gone past the start and finish line now. A lap down though.
So he never made that lap back, I guess mainly from that spin it had, losing it time. There's Rob Boston then turning his way onto the Melbourne hairpin. I guess he's up to yeah, because the Baker car's in the pit. So yes, Boston up to 4th, and I reckon the Goulds then onto the Class A podium in their Porsche, all the way down from Scotland. They originally were one of the reserves, but with problems for others. It's been a good trip down from Laurent to now Alistair Gould, running in 3rd position in Class A, with the problem for the Baker and Swift car that gets back going. But I think they're a lap behind now, won't they be, I believe?
I think you're right.
Or pretty much a lap anyway.
That car back out into the race anyway. The Area Motorsports Civic. There's the Class C leader just going past our window, which is still Andrew Lightstead in 11th position overall now. So they've come up well, and there's three cars back to the second place car in Class C, which is John Monroe's MX-5.
Rob Boston's pace is really shown here. He's 25 seconds now ahead of Luke Slavitz, and it wasn't that long ago that he overtook him, really.
No, not at all.
Slavitz now is less than 10 seconds behind Brett Evans, so Evans now he's sort of cleared the Civic, or the Civic sort of let him go when he come into the pits. It means that he's chasing the Golf once again for what is now 3rd in Class B, and then 5th in Class is the William Beach and Adam Morgan Renault Clio. Class C, as you said, Andrew Lightstead still leading John Monroe, but Sam McKee has come up to 3rd. So McKee got past Graham Kelly, and now Graham Kelly's got Ivor Mares right on his tail. And then it's James Kell, who I mentioned earlier on in that Mazda MX-5, running in 5th. So he's another driver that's done loads of races this year. He done the MX-5 Super Cup at the beginning of the year. He won at Brands Hatch. Then he done the Ginetta Super Cup on the Toka package just a couple of weeks ago, with racing over the weekend in the MX-5 Super Cup at Pembrey. And apparently wrote off one of the Mazdas there after getting clobbered by another. But the pairing, him and Darren, are here running well within the top 5 of Class C, and I wonder if he can start closing in on that Kelly and Mares battle for what is 3rd place.
Red and yellow slippery surface flag is out at Redgate now. That's some fluid down, or maybe a bit of debris on the circuit. Not quite sure. So watch Sam McKee go through it. There's the answer. It's a bit of debris. It's one of the floppy corner markers. That actually, they're not that floppy, are they, those corner markers? You wouldn't want one slapping you in the face, that's for certain. But that's the reason why I've got the slippery surface or debris flag up there at Redgate Corner at the moment.
Cole Swift across the line is in the top 10 overall, but has dropped to 5th in Class A. Class A 3rd is Alistair Gould. 4th is now the Sayat, that's sort of not really shown well, but just been kept going at the pace that John Gardner and Paul Huxley have driven. This is Paul Huxley's first season of racing, in fact, after doing hill climbing and sprinting and running 4th in Class A. 39 seconds ahead of Cole Swift with just a quarter of an hour to go. And I think it's just 5 Class A cars running now.
Yeah.
Because we saw Darren Bull pull off, and he is next on the screens. Yeah, so just 5 Class A cars running. Sedgwickowski leading in 2nd, Micah Brown 3rd, Alistair Gould 4th, the Gardner and Huxley Sayat, and then in 5th place, Cole Swift.
Yeah, into the last quarter of an hour of the race now as well. So hopefully things will have settled down a fair amount now. We've got briefly on our screens the first 4 cars all on 4 different laps, although that will settle itself out once some of them come through. 54 laps having been completed by the race leading car Luke Sedgwickowski, that was started out by David Whitmore. I remember David Whitmore being so pleased when he got his first podium, then his first win in the M3 Cup, so I'm sure if he can come home having played a big part in winning the opening round of the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship as well, he'll be absolutely delighted.
Top 2 are together on the track again, aren't they? Because Micah Brown has caught Luke Sedgwickowski. I would have thought in Luke's position here, you want to wave him by. You don't want to get involved in anything that might go on between the pair of them while they're together.
Even if there is a safety car now or something like that, you'd think it's too late in the race that it will have an impact whereby the second place car could get right back on your tail again.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point taking the risk. And Mika Brown's lapping very quickly. And what would he have lost in that spin? 15, 20 seconds, and he's closed that all in.
But even if he'd had that, he'd have still been 3/4 of a lap behind, wouldn't he? So, assuming that both continued at the same pace, which isn't necessarily a correct assumption. So yes, the two leads together on track, but 2.5 miles apart in some ways. There's more lap. Oh, it's Michael Downey being like. Michael Downey's had quite a lot of screen time during the course of this, especially if he tries to unlap himself from the race leader as he does there. So in the end, Sedgwickowski able to pull away from the Porsche Boxster.
Really great job TI Motorsport have done with this M4. It looks brilliant, and it's going even better in some ways, leading the way by a lap and about a second to Mika Brown. But David Whitmore drove really well, battling amongst the leaders, not getting involved in any incident though, just lapping at the pace of what was Michael Price and was Chris Byalon. But both those cars have broke down, and Luke Sedgwickowski just driving at the pace he's comfortable with and doing exactly what he needs to.
Number 87, which is the James Watson car, the MX-5, he took it over from Robert Chilcott. That's now got a pit stop penalty as well, so that will have to come in for stop and go by the looks of it, with only 11.25 minutes of the race left.
Notice.
Oh, now who's that going slowly on the grass down there?
Looks like it might have been through the gravel as well, looking at the dust behind us.
It's a BMW.
This is the battle for third in Class C. Is that Graham Kelly's car?
Yeah, I think it might be.
So he was chasing Ivor Mares once again. He started to close him in, but that will be... sorry, this is for fourth in Class C. So Ivor Mares is fourth. Fifth was Graham Kelly, but James Cowell would have taken that place up, and down to sixth for Graham Kelly. He turns his way onto the Gollard's hairpin. Now, has he got a problem, or was it a mistake, I wonder?
I think it's not looking as quick as it was, that car.
So they've dropped to sixth in class now, and it's the Summers and Livesey Lotus. It's about a minute behind in seventh.
Yeah, I think there's a problem with that car, to be honest with you. 10 minutes left.
Just going through shot as well there with Brett Evans, and he's now only 4.5 seconds behind Luke Slavitz, so he's closing him in once again. It's been a good drive from Brett Evans, doing a whole 2 hours by himself. Meanwhile, the two leaders almost side by side, coming off of the hairpin there, so you really do notice the two different builds to these two BMW M4s. They're based on the same car, but as I mentioned earlier, TI Motorsport have built this up themselves from a road car, whereas BMW Motorsport, of course, built the GT4 spec car that the Browns are running. And this is showing exactly what Club Enduro is about, is building a car up from the production road car, as TI Motorsport have done. And Luke Sedgwickowski and David Whitmore leading the way, showing that you don't need to go and buy a manufactured car from the racing team. You can do it yourself, and because of the power to weight ratios, because of the rules that the 750 Motor Club have put together, you very much can beat the GT4 machinery.
No, and certainly it's a rules package that gained a lot of approval last season. A lot of drivers very enthusiastic about how it works out and how the playing field can be pretty level. Looking at the Class B battle, Steve Cheetham now in the overall podium paying positions in number 43, but Rob Boston's got the lead down to less than 55 seconds now. He's not going to catch Steve Cheetham because there's only 9 minutes left to go, but he's closing in at the rate of about 3.5–4 seconds a lap, so it wouldn't need all that many laps. Hopefully it needs another, half an hour for him to catch him, but unfortunately he's only got 9 minutes.
There's the leader heading out of the Melbourne hairpin, still with Mika Brown on his tail. Obviously Luke Sedgwickowski comfortable with the gap. Meanwhile, Ian,
into the pits again has come the Carl Swift Rob Baker Area Motorsport Civic that was up inside the top 3 earlier on, but then had to make an extra stop because those fuel surge issues. It's still showing in 10th place on the timing screens, but it looks to be out of the race.
But can you score points? I believe you can, by completing 70% of the race distance rather than seeing the checkered flag, and nobody else is going to pass them in Class A. So
no, they may well find themselves still classified for some points, so we shall see. as there's 8 minutes left now.
There's Graham Kelly's BMW continuing there in 6th position, a bit off the pace, but I think just gathering himself back up after the dusty moment down at chicane. He's got the leaders. We've got the Class B and the Class A leader together there, so Steve Cheetham about to go a lap down.
And just behind them, you've got the Class C leader as well, because Andrew Lightstead, there he goes, just through shot now as well in the red BMW 330. So all on track together, the first and second overall, and the Class B and the Class C leads all within the space of a couple of 100 yards.
So that's Sejakowski a lap ahead of Brown, and then Brown a lap ahead of Cheetham, actually first, second and third overall altogether on the circuit in these closing stages of this race, and particularly in the top class here. And it's been a race of attrition, bringing your car home, although saying that Sejakowski is driving as quickly as that car's gone all race, only about a second a lap off of it, so it shows how well these two M4s have been built, that they can be driven as hard as the drivers like, sort of what is now the modern way of endurance racing, just driving as fast as you can throughout the whole distance.
Yeah, just put it in context, I mean, they're lapping in 144s, the two leading cars, albeit on different laps. Rob Boston's lapping in 146s in 4th place and second in Class B. But beyond those, no one else is lapping anything less than a 149. Steve Cheetham and Alistair Gould both lapping in the 149s in their respective Porsches in 3rd and 5th positions. I think everyone else is 150 plus, and some of them quite considerably plus.
Class C, you mentioned Andrew Lightstead leading that by a good margin, still over John Monroe. But for 3rd place, it's closer. Much closer than the top two are to one another. Sam McKee still there in 3rd place, just 9 seconds ahead of Ivor Mares, who's about the same gap back to James Keller. And it is James Keller who's the quickest of those three. But as you say, coming into the closing stages now, then those gaps probably just a little bit too big for the positions to change.
Yeah, certainly are. 6 minutes, that's all to go. They're putting a lap there on the number 71 compact. That's David Downey, father of Michael, who we've seen a lot of during the course of this race. But yeah, if this was for the lead of the race and on the same lap with 6 minutes to go, well, I think we'd be quite enjoying this, because it would be a really good battle, because they're so evenly matched as well on the lap times as well. Just putting a lap on Luke Schlevitz in the BMW, Volkswagen. It's still 3rd place within Class B.
But only 3.5 seconds now ahead of Brett Evans, so that is something that could happen. If we look to the background, they've got the Volkswagen Golf being chased by the Mini. Let's have a look. There is the Golf, and saying the Mini's with 3.5 seconds back. Where has it gone?
It's not. I think I just saw it in the background there, but it might have lost a little bit of time during the course of this lap as well. So that's potentially something that's going for 3rd place in Class B. Is Steve Cheetham actually has just put a lap now, another lap on Schlevitz there as well.
So that's a lap between 1st and 3rd in Class B. Rob Boston now is only 45 seconds behind the class leader, Steve Cheetham, and that was, what, the best part of a lap, I reckon, when Boston got into the car. So, particularly at Croft, perhaps, where Boston can do 2 stints if the team decide to do that round as well. That's very much a Class B contender, I should think.
I would definitely think so. I mean, get him in the car for as long as possible, and into the pits comes that Volkswagen that was looking a little bit recalcitrant. It is now in, so Andy Bailey and Luke Schlevitz. Luke Schlevitz now at the wheel, making their way into the pit lane in that number 95 car, the Jabra racing machine. It was originally built as a production GTI Mark 5 car, and it won races. It also is the car that won some of the last races at Rockingham before that circuit closed last November.
So that means Brett Evans is up to 3rd now in Class B. 4th should go to Will Beach, who's sharing that car with Adam Morgan, and then 5th in Class B is another of the Lotuses, but the Exige, the Data Motorsport car of Oliver Crease and Simon Middleton.
4 minutes left as we get towards the end of this TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship race now. There's the Will Beach Clio going through shot, followed by Sam McKee in the BMW 3 Series. That's that ex-Rodron Vela car.
You wouldn't really have known without being told about it, would you?
No,
It's completely different in the new colour scheme.
It does. There are some elements of the colour scheme that are the same, i.e. the orange, but it does look quite different. And that car is now being driven by Mark Grice, who's won Civic Cup races in the past.
Absolutely, and of course his teammate Danny Hobson won yesterday at Snetterton. Meanwhile, the leader...
Graham Kelly into the pit lane again, by the way.
So he's 6th in Class C. The leader is about to go on to his penultimate lap of the race. Crossing the line, Luke Sejankowski sort of dropped Micah Brown once again. So Luke Sejankowski onto his penultimate lap of this race. He turned his way into Redgate, car number 33, the TEGIWA backed car, the TI Motorsport run machine. Turns its way onto Hollywood. And we'll head down the Craner curves. Still in 2nd place. A lap back is Micah Brown, who took over from his dad, Chris, at half distance. And then Steve Cheatham's Porsche runs in 3rd position. All the time being closed in by Rob Boston, but it's not going to be enough with just a couple of laps to go.
No, absolutely not. The leading cars making their way up towards McLean's once more. Lots more traffic to deal with, but possibly not that much more by the end of the race, actually, because it's a bit of a gap just ahead of them now. One of the Class C cars keeping out of the way of Micah Brown there as they headed up towards Coppice. I think that was Ivan Mayers, wasn't it, with a taped up bonnet on that car. So leading cars now down the exhibition straight with only 2 minutes to go. The best lap times are 1:45 at this stage of the race, so it will definitely be the last lap board this time. It's a straight 2-hour race, not 2 hours plus a minute, plus a lap or something like that.
All 3 class leaders now are within the top 10, as Andrew Lightstead has moved up into 10th position after the demise of the Honda Civic.
I can see there's a driving standards flag going out to Luke Schlevitz, although his car now in the pit lane, so he's not going to see it from there, being signalled from the finishing line.
Of course, that's going to be another car that drops out of the top 10 before the end of the race. But out of the final corner come these 2 BMW M4s. They accelerate down the start and finish line. The last lap board is out. The last lap signal on your screens as well to the race leader, Luke Sejankowski. David Whitmore started the car. David Whitmore, who finished 3rd in the M3 Cup last year, was a winner there. Sejankowski, a race winner in Civics and M3s, as well as the BMW Car Club Racing Series, which are here today as well. And one at Silverstone last year did Sejankowski, but looking to start 2019's Club Enduro Championship in exactly the way he means to go on in 2019, I should think. And a great driver pairing, very much an equal pairing as well, Ian. And this M4 looks very much sorted for its first ever race.
Well, it's what you want, isn't it? You want a sorted car, you want a reliable car, and actually having 2 drivers who can lap in more or less the same lap times, that is a pretty useful thing to have as well. And that's what we've seen during the course of this race. They're heading up towards Coppice Corner now for the final time. About 26 seconds left on the clock. And barring disastrous, they go side by side with an MX-5 through Coppice. They should be able to bring it home safely now. So dropping back down the exhibition straight towards the Fogarty S's once again. About to turn into the left-hander. So not really too much pressure on because the lead is pretty much a lap for Luke Sejankowski in the TEGIWA liveried car. Luke is one of the men behind TEGIWA, of course, and it is the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. So all the stars are aligning here. Round the Melbourne hairpin he goes, climbing up the hill towards Goddard for the final time then in this 2-hour race, which in the sun, in the heat, will have been a bit of a test of endurance today for all of the drivers, I'm sure. Checkered flag is being made ready. Up to the line he comes, and Luke Sejankowski wins round 1 with David Whitmore of the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship for 2019.
Great drive, as I mentioned, from the pair of them. And you mentioned about how hot it was. Well, Steve Cheatham, who's going to win Class B, has done the whole 2 hours all by himself in his Porsche. And he shall be through shortly, as will Andrew Lightstead, the Class C race leader. So we're just looking for Steve Cheatham. Here he comes out of the hairpin, Ian.
Yeah, and he comes up to the line, and he's got a wave for the marshals as he acknowledges the checkered flag, winning Class B and finishing on the podium overall as well. So that really is an excellent effort for the man that was the 2005 Porsche 924 champion as well and has raced in Porsche Club Championship more recently. So he wins Class B.
And 2 classic Stockats drivers are going to win and dominate in Class C in Club Enduro. Imran Khan started. It's Andrew Lightstead that takes the flag. We wait to say how competitive the Classic Stockats Championship is, and 2 of their drivers have absolutely thrashed the competition in Class C. A great drive from both Imran Khan first and then Andrew Lightstead.
Yeah, and that's a comfortable win there over John Munro and Nick Dougal. So the Lightstead and Khan car comes home 9th overall. Munro and Dougal now over the line in 12th place overall. Worth just looking at what happened to the rest of the cars in Class B. So Steve Cheetham it was that won Class B, Rob Boston second, and Brett Evans third. And in Class C, as we say, Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan winning from in second place Monroe and Dougal, and then third was the Adam Meelan and then Sam McKee BMW, which will drive its way home to Warwickshire later on.
Absolutely, and we had to repair the car, as you said earlier, after the car failed in road sports last weekend at Brands Hatch. First failure it ever had in, 3 years of competition, and I'm sure Sam McKee's going to be delighted with a podium finish here to start his Club Enduro campaign. In Class A, of course, Dedekowski and Whitmore won. It was the Browns in second, and third place to Lance and Alistair Gould in their Porsche, so I'm sure there will be 9 teams very happy to be on the podium to start the year off. It's about 6 weeks' time. We go to Croft for the longest race of the year, 3 hours around that venue. First time the championship has been to Croft. The track's been resurfaced as well for this year, so that's going to be very interesting around a very quick circuit. It's going to be very busy around there. Perhaps not quite so obvious places to get past that traffic there either, so that should be a really interesting race.
Let's have a look at the results of this one though. Luke Sedgwickowski and David Whitmore took the win by more than a lap, having completed 62 laps themselves. Chris and Mecca Brown were second, Steve Cheetham winning Class B in third, then Peter Mansfield and Rob Boston, great drive from Rob Boston towards the end of the race, took them to fourth. The Goulds, Lance and Alistair were fifth, Brett Evans was sixth and third of the Class C cars, Class B cars. Also within the top 10 was our Class C winner, which was Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan. John Monroe and Nick Dougal were second place in Class C, 12th overall, and Sam McKee, Adam Meelan, third place in Class C and 15th place overall as well. Let's watch through the rest of the finishers. Peter Gillett and his daughter Nicola finishing 21st overall, just ahead of David Downey in the BMW Compact. Other drivers, you can see Robert Baker, Carl Swift classified there 25th on the screen, subject to final confirmation of these results, of course. That was despite finishing the race in the pit lane and despite having a stint in the gravel trap that brought about the safety car. Michael Downey classified within the top 30 as well. And then really we're getting into the cars that didn't make it to the end here, including the Mercers, who went missing with about half an hour to go when running strongly in Class B. So that's how the results looked from the opening round of the 2019 TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. Yeah, and a few more cars there. There really was quite a few non-finishers on this occasion as well. We lost the Mazda of Steve Dolman and Paul Sherd. That was much earlier on. That brought about another safety car, didn't it? For example, Will Ashmore, Honda Civic was the first of the Class A cars to fall by the wayside. So all of these cars then making their way down the pit road. I think what we'll get for this one is that the 3 class winners are going to be stopped and brought in. They'll be taken up to the podium, and we'll hear from them in a few moments' time, no doubt, alongside Jacob Harris. But we'll just wait for them to get there first before we hand down to him. As you say, Croft, with its new surface, the next round of the championship, one really to look forward to. I'm sure it'll be another very good grid there up in North Yorkshire for round 2 of the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship for 2019. But as I look down towards the podium now, I can see that we do now have winners heading into the clutches of Jacob Harris.
Okay, here we are on the podium with the race winners. We have got Mr. Whitmore and Mr. Sadowski. Guys, congratulations on your race win.
Well, what can I say? A lot of hard work's gone into building this car for last year. Luke, TEGIWA, TI, Dave, Fordy, all the team have put a massive effort into this. And the effort that's gone in from this man here on the build has been amazing. So I'm going to hand it over to this lad a little bit then.
Luke, he's really talked you up there.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, well, it was obviously an idea that we came up with last year to build an M4, and yeah, it took a lot of hard work over the winter. It was Dave turned up as a road car, and obviously we converted it into a race car. So yeah, it's a brilliant car. Motion Motorsport have done an amazing job, and yeah, I think we both enjoyed it out there.
Has a winter of hard work been worth it?
Oh, massively, yeah. We were dreaming of coming in here and putting it on the front row and winning the race, and obviously the dreams come true.
Can we see you keeping this up for the rest of the season?
I'd like to think so.
Glad to hear it. Lads, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I think we've got our class winners coming through, although a number of drivers are racing in other classes this afternoon. This is Andrew, the winner of Class B. Andrew, congratulations.
Class C.
Class C, apologies, I'm hearing things very fuzzy in my ear. Talk us through your race there.
Well, Imran started off a very consistent run. I would say we were a bit unsure with the first safety car. Should we come in, refuel, leave him in the car, but carry on until the halfway mark? Luckily, there was another safety car that allowed us to recover the time that we thought we'd lost to car 73. And then, well, I drove around, fell off a couple of times, managed to stay in the lead, and hey presto, tired.
So Imran, a few dodgy strategy calls, but you managed to avert them with some good quality driving, apparently.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's true. Built a big lead up at the start. I thought it was going well. Then the first safety car came out, and yeah, we were considering pitting, but fortunately, I think it was a good call to stay out. And second safety car came out. We decided to pit, and it's plain sailing from there. Andy brought it home.
Obviously, we're here at Donington Park for the first round of the TEGIWA Club Endurance. Can we expect to see you guys fighting for the class wins throughout the year?
Yep, we're planning to do all but one round, I think, isn't it? So, yeah, we'll be in it for the championship.
Glad to hear it, guys. Congratulations on the class win. See you later in the season. So now we have the Class B winner. Apologies, it's Steve, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant race. I really didn't expect to come third overall. I would have, coming into today, I would have took third in class. So, excellent result.
And you did it all by yourself?
Yeah, a little bit knackered now, but yeah, great fun.
The 2 hours in this heat around this track must be absolutely exhausting. Tell us how you did it.
Yeah, it was, and to be fair, I'm glad I had a good lead later on because I could back off a bit. I did all the hard work in the first half of the race, and built myself a lead, and we come in at exactly the right time, just as the safety car was coming out, so that worked in our favour. And yeah, he gave me a chance to relax a bit at the end of the race.
And I'm going to assume, as a solo driver, you've got a strong team behind you.
Yeah, we've got an excellent team. Last year we first go at endurance racing, and we didn't get the pit stops right, and we had a few problems. But this year we've looked at everything, and we've come back, and we're to win the first rounds. Excellent.
And how are we looking for the rest of the season? You planning on doing all the rounds?
I'm planning on doing them all, as well as a full season of Porsche Club Championship. So I'm going to be a busy man this season. Yeah.
Yeah, you go steady. You don't want to overdo yourself?
No, I'll try not to.
Congratulations on your class win. I'll sure to see you later in the season.
Thank you.
There we have it then, our class winners from the TEGIWA Club Endurance round number 1 here at Donington Park. Next up, we got the second race in our BMW CCR Championship.